watching these two degenerates grind against each other, and I'm thinking this behavior is simply unacceptable. Now, if you think this is an isolated incident, you are dead to rights wrong. I have 36 hours of footage to prove it that I have personally collected from sickos just around my own town. For example, I saw perverts having sex in swimming pools clearly visible from the roofs of adjacent buildings, on boats that anybody could see with a telescope, at night on the beaches where they can easily be watched by anyone hiding behind a fence wearing their night vision goggles. It's simply disgusting.
This is the Onion News Network. Free Talk Live.
In an ode to Richie Rich. And we're back.
And we're back. Well, from yesterday.
Well, okay, sure. But he's been doing the, whenever we start the show or come back.
Yes.
He's been doing the, and we're back every time.
Yeah.
And so I just kind of want to keep that tradition going a little bit.
Sunday night tradition.
Sunday night tradition. The other Sunday night tradition is Captain's Log, Stardate 06122022. It's the Sunday night edition of Free Talk Live. In the studio tonight, it's myself, the Lord Reverend Dr. Captain Kickass, Buckshot Esquire, if you will. Joining me tonight.
It's Nikki.
And Mark. Shouldn't you be saying like LPN afterwards or something?
No, I'm not one of those people.
Okay.
Yeah, everybody goes with really short names because
I am Intergalactic Space Wizard.
I thought it was Space Lord.
Space King was what I used to
I
do.
like Wizard better.
But I decided that I would give up my crown because, and continue my wizardly duties.
Actually, with the glasses and, you're getting a little older, so there's a little more gray there.
I am quite gray.
If you wore the actual wizard's hat, that might actually be a look for you.
I have it upstairs.
Okay.
Shall I go get it for you?
I mean, maybe during break or something.
Right.
Yeah.
Not right now.
Yeah.
If you want to see my gray hair, you can go to cam.freetalklive.com.
Indeed. Or you can stream the video of tonight's show over at video.freetalklive.com because we are streaming live on Odyssey 7 nights a week.
So if I go to video.freetalklive.com, what will I see immediately? Like, what do I have to do to make a video work?
I believe, on a computer, on a web browser, you will see a big square. That's the Odyssey stream, and it'll have a big play button.
Currently,
in the
it's
middle.
Nikki. I can see it over on the monitor over there.
Yeah, as long as you're looking at the top right.
Lots better to look at than myself, I got to say.
Nobody at all questioned the decision to do the show with Nikki as opposed to Richie Rich. So that says something about Nikki.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, I listened to the show. The only time I've sent an email of praise regarding the show in the last year that I haven't really been on the air, it was regarding the show that you, Richie Rich, and Nikki did. And I really like the chemistry of what's going on.
We have so much fun on Sunday nights.
Yeah.
It's really great. It's like our silly night. Everybody talks about serious stuff during the week, and we're like, we're going to talk about sharks and, obscure things.
Indeed.
We try to keep it a little lighter than the rest of the week.
I found it to be very compelling radio.
And Richie Rich will be back next week.
I'm a fan.
So you have that to look forward to. So
Nikki, I was declared the best-looking man at the Talkers Convention on Friday, though.
Congratulations.
By one talk show host lady. Were you there for that?
I
would really like
probably
it
there, but
I'd like it if somebody would corroborate
I'm like
this.
Schultz from Hogan's Heroes. I see nothing.
Yeah.
I know nothing.
You look a little bit like him if you didn't have the beard. Maybe.
I'm trying to lose some weight, bro. Come on.
He wasn't that fat, was he?
He was a fat ass.
Okay.
Yeah. He was like double chin, triple chin kind of guy. You could see his like little tiny chin.
He was my favorite part of the show.
Yeah. I was a fan. I wasn't even a fan really of any of the characters so much as I was the tunnels and the nifty way that they had the mechanisms, set up to the one that was under the doghouse in the guard dog shack. And then they had one where like they would reach under and like flip a button or whatever. And like the bottom bunk would just like lift up and there's a stairway going down into the tunnels that they had there.
I have no clue what you're talking about, but it sounds fun.
Hogan's Heroes.
Hogan's Heroes was a show that the captain and I are 1 year separated. He was born in 72. I was born in 71. And, these are the things we grew up on.
Yep.
Yeah, this is before Dukes of Hazzard.
It was a sitcom based in World War II.
Oh, okay.
Where they had all been captured.
POWs, yeah.
POWs at Stalag 13. But they basically ran the thing because Nazis are dumb, right? And so, they used it as sort of a base to carry out spying missions and this, that, and the other. But it was a comedy and a funny one.
And quite a good one.
Yeah. Many, many good characters. We have lots of things to talk about tonight, plus your calls and your thoughts, which you can call in 603-283-6160. Again, 603-283-6160 is the telephone number. Phones are open. We'll get to your calls and thoughts in a bit. We have plenty to talk about. There's many things on my mind that I'm surprised Free Talk Live has not been able to get to yet, but, the callers come first in most respects. So I'm going to kick things off with this from LifeSiteNews.com. There's a new social credit app to reward Italian citizens for virtuous behavior. That's the headline. Citizens using the app will be rewarded for things such as recycling, using public transport, managing energy well, and not getting fined.
What are the rewards?
Well, that's a good question.
I find this terrifying. So, just saying.
I do too. And so I've already read through the article once, and this is already deployed in Rome. Okay. That's their sort of, beta test, if you will, of this thing. It is, I'm going to say it's voluntary. So, the government's not saying you have to download this thing on your phone and you have to use it. They're saying it's voluntary, at least for the moment, but it doesn't make it any less scary.
Well, what's the incentive?
Well, a new app. This is out of Bologna, Italy, so it could be all Bologna. A new app recently released in Italy presents striking similarities with China's social credit system by rewarding some citizens for their behavior through a point system. The Smart Citizen Wallet was presented at a March 29th press conference on digital innovation in Bologna, where Mayor Matteo Lepore and Massimo Bugani, director of the city's digital agenda, discussed the project. The fact that a city has a digital agenda...
Yeah, it doesn't sound good.
Who invented that term? And also, could you make it sound more evil, perhaps?
Sorry.
That's what I envisioned them.
I know.
The digital agenda. According to local newspaper, which described the concept as similar to a supermarket points collection, the app is already active in Rome, where it is currently in the experimental stages. It's set to be launched in Bologna this fall. Citizens using the app will be rewarded for things such as recycling, using public transportation, managing energy well, and not getting fined. So I don't understand how you get rewards for a negative thing, for a not thing. But
well, they can't say that yet.
Well, that's sort of the point is that this once we have the positives, then the negatives come in, right?
The so-called virtuous behaviors will allow citizens to improve their score and win points that they will be able to, quote, spend, unquote, on various awards, such as discounts and free cultural activities.
I want the presidential Medal of Freedom. Give me that. We'll get some awards.
Well, and so these are obviously government awards.
Yeah, clearly.
And so the government is going to pay for supposed cultural activities. I got news for you, people. Culture is not government. Society is not government. These two terms exist independently because they're not the same thing. If government disappeared tomorrow, society would still exist and culture would still exist. Culture is not dictated by government, but they sure as heck want you to believe that it is, at least in this particular instance. What we call a new water system for the city is being built, he said. In the coming years, many services will go digital in Italy. We have an ambitious project here that is built on solid foundations. I don't understand why they're saying a new water system.
Well, they did say for energy usage, and maybe what he's saying here is that rather than using, traditional pricing models in order to limit people's use of utilities and things like that, they're going to go with, Mario points. Oh, shoot, I said Mario points in regard to an Italian system.
You culturalist.
Yeah, I was just trying to think of a common video game, but darn.
But that's what it feels like, though. It feels like a video game, and I feel like governments are trying to disassociate people from reality, with all the VR stuff.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, don't pay attention to the real world. This is all a simulation.
Bugani stated...
That's some deep stuff. I'm terrified now.
The
pucker factor's just increased.
And not on your face either.
Right.
Suddenly I was sour face. I don't know why. Bugani stated that this new Smart Citizen wallet app will be made available to the citizens of Bologna after the summer. Obviously, no one will be forced to participate, he said. Those who want to will be able to give consent when downloading and using the app.
Soon you won't be able to get on the bus without this thing.
603-283-6160. Do you want your government rewarding you or disincentivizing you for your behaviors? Give us a call. More Free Talk Live is coming up.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you're helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at Bitcoin.com. That's Bitcoin.com. What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
Do you feel like your nation, state, or community no longer holds your values? Have you dreamt of a place where people agree that liberty is important and are free to pursue their projects so long as they respect the property of others? There are many people just like you that are discovering freeprivatecities.com. Their social media links are at the upper right of the page at freeprivatecities.com. All skill levels will be needed when the first of the Free Private Cities opens. It's sooner than you think. Stop arguing and build. freeprivatecities.com.
So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com. Join liberty-minded voluntarists, anarchists, and libertarians from June 27th through July 3rd for the 6th annual Fork Fest at Rogers Campground in the beautiful White Mountains of New Hampshire. Fork Fest is a fork of the Porcupine Freedom Festival, which sold out for the first time in 2021. Fork Fest takes place the week after PorcFest, but Fork Fest is decentralized, which means that there's no ticket cost and no one is in charge. All you have to do to join the fun is reserve your camping site, RV site, or motel room with Rogers Campground for June 27th through July 3rd. There's no better place to celebrate Independence Day than around other freedom-loving activists in the Shire. You can find out more at the unofficial website, forkfest.party. You can also connect with other attendees on the Forkfest Telegram and Matrix chat rooms, as well as the Forkfest Forum. You can find links to those at forkfest.party. We hope to see you there. Forkfest.party. Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. chat.lrn.fm. The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount.
Our Matrix server is about as free as internet chat can be. Join the existing rooms or create your own at chat.freetalklive.com.
Welcome back. Thank you for listening. It is Free Talk Live. The telephone number here is 603-283-6160. We'll get to your calls and thoughts in just a moment. In the studio tonight, it's myself, the captain.
It's Nikki.
And Mark.
I did want to mention, we were talking just during the break about one of my favorite bands, Suicidal Tendencies, and some of the zany lyrics that they have.
I'm not crazy.
That's one of them. That's one of their most popular ones. But they have one, a song called Suicidal Failure. And part of the lyrics are, I'm a suicidal failure, I gotta have some help, have suicidal tendencies, but I can't kill myself. And it talks about how he took all his mother's sleeping pills, he jumped off a freeway bridge.
That's on the same album as the Institutionalized.
Yes. He drank 3 kinds of poison and drove his car off a ridge, but he can't die for some reason. So it's a very interesting song, very controversial in its day.
Well, G.G. Allen really made it so that punk was far less controversial. Any less than eating your own. Never mind.
Well, we have a story later on in this broadcast about eating something, and we'll get to that as the show goes on. Let's go to some of your calls and thoughts. Let's start with Tom in New Hampshire. Tom, you're on Free Talk Live.
Good evening. You may recall back in 2018 when I was running as a Libertarian for Congress for the Libertarian Party nomination for Congress in the 2nd Congressional District of New Hampshire, and one of your then talk show hosts, Darrell W. Perry, filed with the Ballot Law Commission to have them block me, to have them not include my name in the Libertarian Party ballots. And there is a byproduct of that issue that I want to bring up here, a benefit of what happened. You see, when he did that, I said, gee, I got to find out what the laws are. Well, the best thing to do is go to the Ballot Law Commission's website, and there they have all these cases, and I can find a precedent where they cannot kick somebody out for not really towing the party line. And I found it in case number 2015-5, where a former chairman of the Republican Party of New Hampshire, keep in mind, Darrell is a former chairman of the Libertarian Party of New Hampshire, who filed to block my name from being included in the ballots. The former chairman of the Republican Party of New Hampshire filed to block Donald Trump's name from being included in the Republican Party ballots for the 2016 primary, and cited a laundry list of reasons why Mr. Trump is such a bad candidate that he's not even fit to be called a Republican. That was 2015, a big difference between then and now, when Republican candidates, a lot of them are falling all over each other. Picture on the cover of Newsweek a few weeks back, bend the knee. And so I would not have known about that case had I not been motivated to check precedent cases in the Ballot Law Commission. But now everybody knows, and Free Talk Live listeners have a talking point. You know, Trump is such a bad candidate. So, but now they are worshiping a guy who's like totally unfit to be called a Republican, or was before then. And then they found out, well, yeah, he's a crazy jackass, but he gets the crazy jackass vote, and those votes count.
Yeah. Hey, thanks for the call, Tom. We appreciate it.
If the joke has been said, they're gone. Yeah. Like if it's good, you let them go.
I was actually thinking that the other day about how people are still worshiping Donald Trump.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I just don't understand how people can worship politicians so much. I guess their thing is, well, we love that he's not a politician and he's a businessman, and people have their reasons, but it just seems so odd to me.
It's the closest thing people get to a factual deity, right? One that can be presented to you in front of you and on the television,
Yeah, I guess I just really don't feel that way.
God is not going to go on parade, right?
Yeah.
He's not going to show up at the 4th of July parade in a, even a bubble like the Pope does and wave at you and that kind of a thing. So politicians are the closest thing humankind gets to a physical deity, one that you can say is real, one that you can point to and maybe go and see when he comes to your town and that kind of a thing. So people love to idolize people in power. I don't know why, because it's a really bad quality.
Sounds like a mental disorder to me.
It does, and I believe it is. we've covered it a bunch here on Free Talk Live. Statism is a religion. And so it just so happens that the way the government is set up in the United States, that we change our deity every 4 years.
Yeah, it has qualities of a religion. I think it's also akin to a team sport. If you really like your team, whatever your team might be, the South Florida Fire Ants, right, or whatever it might be, you're never going to, nothing's going to convince you otherwise. I mean, there may be bad management, but so what? I still love my team.
Right.
And it's fascinating.
It's brand loyalty, but on a whole different scale.
Right. Walmart can't get this.
Right.
Target's gotten tapped into it a little bit, but not Walmart. They just can't somehow do it because, super serving your customers in a particular, not good enough.
Yeah. Who does have? Starbucks has it.
Does that work
Starbucks
still?
versus Dunkin' Donuts people.
Oh,
Yep. Let's see, who else? You mentioned Target already. Oh, Whole Foods.
Car brands are huge with it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm a Chevy guy. I'm a Ford guy. Your Toyota sucks, and that kind of thing.
I was about to say I can't relate to any of this, but then you said the car guy thing, and I'm like, oh, you know what? I definitely am a car person and kind of fall victim to that a little bit.
And even the gun guys to some extent. Oh, you have a Glock. You should be carrying a SIG or whatever, right?
Indeed.
That kind of a thing.
In fact, it should be a Ruger.
My point has been made. Let's move right along, and let's go to Robert in South Carolina. Robert, you're on Free Talk Live.
Yes, I just wanted to say that's all basically interconnected. What you were saying before, most governments are behind the curve. The public is usually in the middle, and then sometimes there are governments and organizations that are ahead of the curve.
I'm sorry, you're talking about the social credit app that's been deployed in Rome. Is that right?
Exactly.
Okay.
In other words, if you want to get people to do something, it's much better to instead of punishing people to do something or fining them or putting them in jail, the best way to do it is to reinforce them by giving them a little present on a variable ratio reinforcement schedule. In other words, if you put somebody at different intersections, and when you see a person being kind to other drivers on the road, you flag them down and give them a little present for yielding the right of way and for 2 or 3 cars and letting little old ladies cross the street and giving people a smile.
See, I thought when they did that, they were just trying to look in your car for weed in the ashtray or something.
Right.
It's probably more likely.
Yeah, that seems like a lot more likely.
Right. Any excuse they can muster up and invent.
What if you run from one of these positive traffic stops? We're just trying to give them a coupon to big fatties.
Yeah, to go to dinner or whatever.
Well, in that case, you don't punish the person. You suggest that they go to a little group in the evenings, maybe a group of 4 or 5, where they help each other to get back on the right track in life. And instead of finding people who are getting themselves in more trouble by finding other people who are already in trouble, you get them into a track of people who are trying to improve themselves. And you have a little help.
Yeah,
I do like the idea of positive reinforcement. I'm so jaded towards state organizations at this point that I hate the idea of them doing it.
It is a horrible idea for them to do it. It is horrible.
Let's take the organization that's murdered millions in the last 100 years and turn them into nice guys. I just don't think they can do it.
603-283-6160. More Free Talk Live is coming up.
Free Talk Live's video archives have been on LBRY for years. LBRY is an uncensorable, decentralized, blockchain-based media sharing protocol, and we're big fans of it here on Free Talk Live. In 2020, LBRY launched Odysee, a video sharing website to compete with YouTube, and it's really taking off. Now with over 1 million channels, many of whom are disaffected YouTube creators. During YouTube's crackdown for not towing the government line on COVID, the Free Talk Live YouTube channel started receiving strikes and could be completely taken down at any moment. Thankfully, Odysee started offering live streaming, so we're now streaming live every night and posting our video archives permanently to Odysee. You can watch live or anytime on our Odysee channel by visiting video.freetalklive.com. If you want to go all in, download the desktop app at lbry.com, and then every video archive you watch, you'll help seed and keep it online forever. At minimum, we ask you visit video.freetalklive.com and follow us on Odysee today. video.freetalklive.com.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Simon Marks with the Week in Review. And the week ended with more bad news for the US on inflation, up to another 40-year high, with the May number hitting 8.6%. President Biden addressed the news during a visit to Los Angeles.
Today's inflation report confirmed what Americans already know. Putin's price hike is hitting America hard. gas prices at the pump, energy and food prices account for half of the monthly price increases since May. We needed to come down much more quickly.
But while the president blames Vladimir Putin for the inflationary spiral, his critics contend his own public spending is part of the problem. Friday brought a court ruling in London that means the British government is currently on track to deport a group of asylum seekers to Rwanda in the coming week. It's part of a controversial policy that will require asylum seekers to wait in the far-off African nation for their claims to move to the UK to be processed. Graham McGregor is a migrant rights activist who opposes the plan.
The UN High Commission for Refugees intervened in the case and have made very clear that the Rwandan asylum processing system is not fit for purpose in this case.
Boris Johnson ended the week still in power in the UK. That was in question at the start of the week.
The vote in favour of having confidence in Boris Johnson as leader was 211 votes, and the vote against was 148 votes.
But that means 41% of his fellow Conservative lawmakers wanted him gone. He called the vote decisive and insisted he'll refocus his government on the country's cost of living crisis. The House of Representatives passed a package of gun control measures that would raise the lawful age at which Americans can buy assault rifles from 18 to 21. But there's no sign the Senate agrees, and negotiations at a compromise acceptable to both sides are continuing. Thursday night witnessed a made-for-TV hearing in the US. The House of Representatives Select Committee investigating last year's January insurrection on Capitol Hill accused former President Donald Trump of launching an attempted coup.
Donald Trump, the President of the United States, spurred a mob of domestic enemies of the Constitution to march down the Capitol and subvert American democracy.
That's Congressman Benny Thompson, a Democrat from Mississippi, with more. FSN's Washington correspondent Benji Hire.
The first in a series of hearings featured previously unseen material, including footage from filmmakers embedded within far-right protesters on the day, and testimony from police officers who sustained serious head injuries resisting the mob.
The Russians made more advances in eastern Ukraine over the course of the week. President Zelensky vowed to rebuild his country and said Kiev will not accept stalemate as an outcome. From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN.
You can stick it to the man and big tech. Join our FTL social mastodon at social.freetalklive.com.
And we're back. What the heck are you listening to? It's called Free Talk Live.
F it, we'll do it live.
We're no Bill O'Reilly, and thank God.
You got to see him Friday, didn't you?
That guy is off his rocker. Oh, my gosh. I know best because I have a degree, and therefore my idea is the right idea.
Sounds legit.
Yeah, sounds legit.
That
sounds like a technocrat to me.
I'm paraphrasing, but that is,
Well, what was his proposal?
His proposal was he wanted to federalize all gun crime as a solution to the gun violence problem in the United States.
States are just letting people off for shooting people.
Yeah, his rationale is, well, if a guy goes and shoots up a place in this state, then the state government has to deal with it in this way and that way, and it's different than the way they deal with it in this state or this other state, and they deal with it different than these other two states, and so we need to make sure they're all treated the same across the board, so let's federalize all gun crime.
Why even have states? Why don't we just have one,
well, that's the question.
One massive state?
Indeed. Right, and
I don't give many ideas.
Where did the power? Well, believe me, they've had that idea for 150 years.
Well, they want just one state for the entire globe.
That much is true. But the question that I would have if I were sitting up with Bill O'Reilly is, where does the Constitution give the federal government this sort of power?
Good question.
Because, at this point, we've taken the general welfare clause and stretched it out from, the tiny little loophole that it was to a giant jogging track. We've taken the interstate commerce clause and stretched that baby out to the point that it's ridiculous.
Should be renamed Hefty Easy Flaps by this point.
There's really only 4 things that the federal government's supposed to do. Maintain post roads. I think we're okay on that one. I guess you'd call the interstates the post roads.
By post roads, you mean roads for the Postal Service to travel upon.
Correct.
Not like something that exists after roads are gone.
Correct.
In the post-road era.
Not roads, in the post-road era, no. These are roads for
when we all have our hovercrafts that we were supposed to get by the year 2000.
And weights and measures. So, they're messing that up. If you're still measuring things in feet and inches, the federal government's messed up weight and measures. Maintain a military, and I think it's the Supreme Court after that.
I don't think there should be an organization that does any of that without consent. And currently, that's what we have is an organization that does all of that.
If they
even do any of that, really.
If that organization maintained its, just within its purview. So forget Social Security, forget Medicare, forget all of the welfare programs that the trickle down and all that stuff. Forget all of that. If it just maintained the military, it could do so with a corporate tax. And corporations are created by governments. Now, they're created by state governments. Mm-hmm. We could, make the argument that, there would be a federal corporation, whatever. So if they just did it with corporate tax, which would be voluntary because you would not have to incorporate, then you would have something. There's some argument for you at that point.
If it were voluntary, I don't have a problem with it.
Yes,
but it is.
The problem is that what they're doing is taking their own governmental powers to corporations, and they're absolving of some responsibility for their actions. That's what a corporate veil is.
I love that word, governmental. Emphasis on the mental.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of one thing the government does that is voluntary.
Oh, it doesn't. Everything that
I can't
it
think
does,
of a single thing.
Everything that it does is enforced by a gun. Every piece of paper, every ordinance, every law, every statute, everything that they do is a piece of paper with a gun behind it. The only tool government has at their disposal to accomplish anything is force. That's the only tool they ever use because they don't have any, and that's their entire existence is based on coercion and violation of consent. That's why I maintain it shouldn't exist.
I get your point. I think the government could be voluntary in so much as it could be private. Like, so for instance, you opt into a homeowners association.
Sure, yeah.
There's a governmental agency.
I think you and I have talked recently about the difference between government as an organization and the ideas of governance.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not against governance.
Humans need it, I think.
We're going to need stuff like sewers and water and the things that government claims monopolies on now, security services, roads, right, those types of things. We need those things, but we know that these things can be provided in a free market
if it's worth it. If it's a good thing,
if it has value,
right?
It will be provided in the market.
The marketplace will absolutely provide it. Think about this for a second. Let's step down for just 1 second as people are stuck to the roof of their cars listening to us on the radio saying the government isn't necessary. Think about trash pickup. Maybe they do governmental trash pickup where you are, but they don't do governmental trash pickup everywhere. But the trash still gets picked up.
Whoa.
It's
crazy.
Huh? Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Think of that.
Now, there's certainly places that don't do governmental trash pickup. The trash doesn't get picked up. The people just throw it on the side of the road. But that's usually has to do with a cultural thing as opposed to a, because there's places like, Keene, New Hampshire, where we are doing, from whence we do this show. What do they call that when you say the same thing twice? Redundancy?
Echoing dual repetitive redundancy?
Yeah,
you can say that again.
From whence. Anyway, whence we do this show is there's no government garbage pickup, but the streets are not littered with trash.
Yeah, well, weird. How does that happen, Mark?
It happens because people don't want the streets littered with trash.
Do you just chuck your trash on the streets, Nikki?
No.
Oh.
Never.
Nikki doesn't actually even create trash. She like eggshells and banana peels is about the sum total of her
I'm
trash.
a huge fan of composting.
Right.
I just don't have anywhere to put it here. But
isn't there? Well, we'll talk about the garden thing later. Yeah, I believe there's a garden area where it might be useful, but
not anymore, unfortunately.
Okay.
But
all right.
Back in the back corner of the property.
I want to swing back real quick to the rest of this article about this social credit app in Italy, because there's some folks who obviously are not on board with this kind of a thing. Some journalists and bloggers in Italy, France, and Germany have pointed out that the concept behind this particular app bears striking similarities with China's social credit system. This, too, rewards citizens according to a system of points. This was not lost on many users of social media, blah, 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 blah. Others have pointed to similarities with other digital projects, such as the Digital ID Wallet by Thales, and have warned that such projects could allow government to usher in a social credit system like China's in the West. These practices, if poorly developed or used, can lead to serious limitations on and violations of citizens' rights and freedoms, as well as discriminatory practices, which are also achieved through technological means, such as social credit systems or social scoring, the statement read.
I just can't really see this going well.
No, me neither.
They're saying, like, oh, well, it might go badly. I just don't think it's possible for this to go well, especially if people aren't voluntarily opting into it, if it's a thing that everybody has to do.
The reason that the grocery stores can give you these rewards cards and things like that is because it's part of their competitive edge. They want to compete with all the other grocery stores for your business, whereas in the case of government, there's no competition.
They don't have the market signals in the same way. So, for instance, we're talking about recycling, seems to be one that's coming up strongly here. All recycling isn't the same.
No.
There's so composting, I'm high on. I think it's a great idea. And in fact, I would go so far as to say we don't compost nearly as enough in this, as in our cultures. However, and I'm also for the recycling of metals, specifically aluminum cans. But, steel and all this other stuff, great stuff. Plastics, on the other hand, half the I just gave a statistic. I shouldn't do that. Some of the time, a not trivial amount of the percentage of the time, they take that plastic and they bury it, and it wasn't recycled at all.
Yeah. So when I was in college, I was very big on recycling. I'm like, everybody has to recycle. Like,
it's because you're a good person.
Well, I also bought into a lot of the fear of like global warming and climate change and all that. So whatever, we had recycling bins at the college I went to, and then I watched the janitor dump the recycling into the trash. And then I went home and told my sister, and she's like, yeah, that happens a lot. It's not just your school.
One small tear snakes down the side of your face.
Yep.
Wasn't that
your dreams are crushed.
That the Native American, the commercial?
Yeah.
He had the tear as he saw the landfill.
Iconic.
603-283-6160. More Free Talk Live coming up. Do you recycle?
Uncovering the secrets and exposing the lies. That's what the readers of freedomsphoenix.com get every day. freedomsphoenix.com, constantly providing the information, the real news about government policies, and the real relationship we all have with the coercive government. The real condition of the economy, innovations in technology, breakthroughs in energy, health, and computer science. Learn the truth well before it's admitted to in the lamestream media. The corporate media, nothing more than distributors of government propaganda, but now there's an alternative. freedomsphoenix.com. Constant news updates on the issues that affect your life in the most important ways. With liberty and property under constant attack, freedomsphoenix.com provides the understanding behind the propaganda, and it encourages the participation of its readers. Go to freedomsphoenix.com. That's freedoms with an S, phoenix.com. freedomsphoenix.com. The revolution between the ears has already happened.
Are you tired of your taxes funding endless occupations around the world? Antiwar.com is run by people who understand that wars abroad become wars at home, wars on our freedoms. Antiwar.com is dedicated to bringing you the latest in news, views, interviews, and reviews from the top movers and shakers in the anti-occupation movement. Antiwar.com has it all, from thorough foreign policy analysis to interviews with whistleblowers who used to run the military-industrial complex. Anti-war, pro-free market. That's antiwar.com.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com. Why did you move to the Shire?
I moved here to the Shire because there's other people around who take liberty just as seriously as I do. I moved to the Shire because I saw videos of people challenging authority and thought that I could get support myself. It called to me, like, do this right now.
I wanted to be around people like me who got it. And once I got here, I knew there was nowhere else that I wanted to be.
I've always wanted to change the world. So I moved to the Shire to join people who were actually working towards doing the same thing.
The people here are awesome, loving, and positive. It was for the adventure and for the feeling of something important is happening here. And I just wanted to come to sort of be part of that.
Visit ShireSociety.com to read and sign the Shire Society Declaration and learn the reasons why, if you love liberty, you should immigrate to the Shire. Plus, connect with others via the forum at ShireSociety.com. That's ShireSociety.com. There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com.
Is oral health important to you? If you don't like your own teeth, fresh breath, or kissing people, then by all means stop listening. Several years ago, I met Jessica Armand, founder and CEO of My Magic Mud, and I became passionate about the product that she created and never want to live without it. It's clinically proven to whiten teeth, but I find it does much more. They want you to love My Magic Mud as much as I do, so they're giving you a money-back guarantee plus 20% off. Go to mymagicmud.com and use coupon code FTL20 at checkout. mymagicmud.com, FTL20.
Don't miss a moment of Free Talk Live. Get our archives daily via our podcast at feeds.freetalklive.com.
And we're back. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening, everybody. It is the Sunday night edition of Free Talk Live. We're a live radio call-in program that's also on the internet and some satellite stations. So in that essence, we're worldwide. But you can call in, take control of the airwaves, talk about whatever's on your mind. The telephone number, 603-283-6160. Again, 603-283-6160. In the studio tonight, it's myself, the captain.
It's Nikki.
And Mark.
We've been talking about, well, this social credit app that's been deployed already in the Rome area of Italy, soon to be deployed elsewhere. It is scary. It looks just like the Chinese version. It's got all the same, sorts of things wrapped into it, and it's the government's way of trying to give you reward points as if it were a grocery store rewards card, but the government is not a grocery store. You don't shop at it.
And this is how you would roll this out in a democratic country. So, whereas China, they could just roll it out because they're authoritarians, and then they can say, and what are the kind of things that they limit you if you're bad? If you're a bad Chinese person, what bad things happen to you on your social credit card?
Slow internet. You can't take
throttled
flights.
internet.
Yeah.
You can't fly.
Yeah.
Right. Got to take a donkey.
Yeah, you'll get the worst of the services, worst ends of it, right? So instead of getting prompt customer service from, say, some government agency, you're going to get the worst of it because, well, you don't have the points, bro. All right.
But that's not where it stops, right?
Yeah.
Then next thing you know, the computer in your car is going to get shut off, so you can't use your vehicle.
Yep.
And
even the free market version of this, if anybody listening is a fan of the TV show Black Mirror, they did a great episode of this where it's sort of like almost like the Facebook app meets the social credit app, where society is just based on people going around going, oh, I like you, oh, I don't like you.
Mm-hmm.
And you rate everybody with how many stars, whatever interaction you have to rate that interaction, and so it is super scary.
And this is where the old adage that the tall, good-looking, and high IQ sort of rule.
Right.
Imagine if you can string words together a little more readily than the next person. Of course, somebody's going to like you better. If you look better than the next person, people like you.
Yep.
Take it from me, folks.
And now, if you have a better social credit score than somebody else, why? What's that going to get you, right? And we moved on from that, and we were talking about recycling and the trash system and how, like, in the absence of government, their monopoly on the, quote, services and products, unquote, that they provide, right? In the absence of that, like, these things would still exist because, well, the market provides things of value. So if it has value, the market will find a way to provide it. And so we got into talking about, recycling and that kind of a thing. I mentioned during the break to just you guys, I'll mention it now on air, that I think the idea of recycling is cool if you are like an entrepreneur and you are trying to find like cheap materials, that kind of thing. You're like, oh, I found a new use for plastic in my new version of concrete. I'm just going to take and find all the used plastic I can, chop it up into little bits, mix it in with concrete, and now I've got a different type of material.
That's a great idea, and they do that, but the problem is that plastic costs more than doo-doo. They that's a whole different type of recycling. It costs plastic. Recycled plastic still costs more. Just collecting plastic costs more than digging rocks out of the ground.
Right.
And this is why they use rocks for filler for concrete, because the plastic costs more. The dump doesn't want to give up your plastic for free and admit that recycling doesn't work. They want to believe very strongly that there is a demand for plastics.
Yep. With that all said, let's go to Jill in Richmond, Virginia, who's calling. Jill, you're on Free Talk Live.
Yes, I was raised in Augusta County. At least we moved there when I was about 4.5.
What state is that in? Augusta County?
Virginia.
Sorry.
Western part of Virginia.
Yeah.
And Stanton is the county seat.
Okay.
Anyway, we moved into Augusta County. And what my father did, he usually went out in the yard, at the edge of the yard, and he dug a hole about 3 foot deep, and that was the garbage hole.
Mm-hmm.
So we would take the garbage, somebody would take the garbage out of the kitchen at different times and throw it in the garbage hole. And he said the dogs were coming around that garbage hole, so he rigged up some kind of thing with electric wires. He was an electrician. He knew a lot about electricity. Okay. So he rigged up something with an electric wire. So if the dogs came around and try to mess in that hole, they got a shock, a mild shock. He didn't intend to electrocute them. They just get a mild shock enough to scare them and teach them to stay away from that hole.
Sure.
And that was how it was done. And then later we had a separate hole called the can hole, and we smashed cans and threw the tin cans in that hole.
Interesting.
And
yeah, now they're worth something.
Yeah. Later, when we moved back Highway 340 into the woods, my father built some kind of machine where my brother and I put the can hole in, and this would smash the cans. My mother thought that wasn't too good, I believe. We just took a can opener and took the other end of the can off and just stamped them flat in the kitchen.
Yeah, there's all sorts of lessons to be taken from the past, and I think, Nikki, you brought up composting a bit ago, and I think all three of us agree that humans don't compost enough. I have talked on air about a way that you can actually generate free heat in the wintertime by using compost. All you do is you put a copper coil inside of your compost bin and you run some water through it. All you need is like a pump that's the equivalent of like an aquarium pump.
You have to have a lot of compost to heat a house with this.
Sure, but it
can be done.
It still can be done, and also it's free, right?
Yep.
Outside of the investment in materials to make it go. So there's all sorts of good things that can come. My example of recycling that I thought is pretty cool is when these biodiesel people started coming around and figuring out how to make biodiesel, and they went around to all the restaurants who would otherwise throw out their fry oil and made use of that, turning that into biodiesel and running it in their Volkswagens or whatever. I'm like, that's thinking. Here's a thing that's otherwise going in the trash, right, that they've now made some use of and turned it into fuel. And in fact, it smells great. If you get behind one of these things, it smells like French fries.
Sounds like making French fries.
So these are the ideas that we need, that where recycling is going to come in. It does not need to be forced upon people.
With the electric fence idea that she mentioned, you can now get these. They're lower voltage electric fence chargers that are solar. So you can put it out there, and it doesn't, as long as it's not grounded out. You got to make sure that this one isn't grounded out. But in that case, you can keep it kind of high above the hole. I had the same situation going on, similar situation. I had deer coming in and helping themselves to my apple orchard. And I also had a soft-hearted woman who wouldn't let me shoot them. So I had to come up with some other solution that included that, so I got the old solar enforcer, and I got to see it one day, and it was just filled my heart with joy when that little doe jumped about 6 feet in the air after getting her nose zapped.
My uncle made something similar for his bird feeder. The squirrels were climbing up it and getting the bird seed. So he has this whole pulley type contraction that shocks the squirrels. It was very, very innovative.
Oh, amazing.
Furry-tailed tree rats.
Jill, did you have anything further to share?
I guess not.
All right. Thanks for the call. We appreciate you. 603-283-6160.
Boy, this is flyover country talk, isn't it?
Flyover country talk?
Yeah, country talk.
Oh, country talk. Yeah. I mean, there's all sorts of lessons. She was talking about the garbage hole. I mean, that's really nothing more than a compost bin, right?
I had to dig up a few of those. So I had pigs out at that same property I was referring to, and they found stuff from decades ago. Old crockery, glass. I'm like, oh, well, this bottle for beer is probably 60 years old. Somebody wants this.
Well, look, a cast iron pan or whatever.
But what used to be a cast.
Pigs.
Yeah.
But again, I don't want to put too fine a point on it, but the idea of recycling, I think, will come naturally with people looking for, lower cost materials, right? Or materials they can get for free, even if it's for like a startup company or something like that, until they get themselves into a place where they're making enough money that they can buy the materials that, that are better or whatever, or newer or whatever, that kind of a thing. But I think recycling is a good idea, and that it comes naturally to humans as a species, as a culture. It's not necessary for government to force it upon people, in my opinion.
I foresee a world where we spend far less time traveling. We have solar panels. Maybe they were 3D printed. That the 3D printers basically make all of our household goods. You don't have to go to Walmart for the plastic crap made in China. And that's the only cost, is the medium with which the 3D printer makes stuff. Now, I don't know how soon it is, but I'm hoping for it.
Coming up, we'll talk about a strangely shaped breakfast cereal. Hour number 2 of Free Talk Live is next.
Brute force, intransigent defiance, adamantine will. These are the hallmarks of the AI tank. These gigantic machines have the firepower of an army, but they also have their own sense of honor and duty. When the world breakers arrive, battle will be joined, planets will shake, and war and peace will never be the same again. World Breakers. Stories from David Weber, Larry Correia, and more. Available August 3rd from BaneBooks.com.
There are basically two types of advertising: direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first call should be to Mark Worden from Porcupine Real Estate. He's more than just a real estate agent. He's your New Hampshire concierge. Where are the best places to live? Do you want farm, city, the burbs, or forest? Do you want a duplex or multifamily building so that renters pay your mortgage? There are homes in all price ranges in New Hampshire, and Mark can help with financing too. Invest in Liberty and property. Mark Worden can help.
PorcupineRealEstate.com. What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live listen line, 641-793-0191.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 2 is next, after the news, here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Nick Harper. A group of 20 US senators have agreed a bipartisan deal to address gun violence following several high-profile mass shootings. President Joe Biden has praised the agreement, even though it doesn't include a ban on assault weapons, something he'd been calling for. The 10 Republicans and 10 Democrats announced the framework deal, which could become the first gun measure fully approved by Congress in years. It includes incentives to encourage more states to implement red flag laws, which stop people deemed a risk to themselves or others from buying firearms. And there's extra funding for mental health and school safety measures. Democratic Senator Chris Coons was involved in the negotiations.
There's still a lot of work to do. There's still a long way to go, but I'm really encouraged by today's announcement. Frankly, it really helped to have Senator John Cornyn, a conservative, aggressive Republican, making it clear what might get more than 10 Republican Senate votes.
A 60-vote threshold is needed for legislation to pass the Senate. President Biden had wanted more, including a ban on assault weapons, but he has praised the agreement in a statement, writing that it would be the most significant gun safety legislation to pass Congress in decades. Russian troops are said to have encircled the Ukrainian city of Severodonetsk. It's fast become the epicenter of the fight for control over Ukraine's eastern region of Donbass. Sergio Olmas reports from Kiev.
The governor of Luhansk says that there are civilians as well as Ukrainian fighters in an industrial plant in the city of Severodonetsk. Russian armed forces have almost encircled Severodonetsk. They have not cut it off. Ukraine has been able to resupply and reinforce its positions in Severodonetsk. In fact, the president of Ukraine went to the city just across the river in Lysychansk. Artillery rounds do not stop landing in that area. It is incredibly dangerous. The Russian armed forces have nearly taken control of the city, but Ukraine has been holding out.
Surveillance footage that went viral in China over the weekend of a vicious attack on a group of women has sparked outrage there and ignited debate over predatory sexual behaviour in the country. Reports say police have arrested 9 men and the case has been handed over to another municipality for investigation. Patrick Falk reports from Hong Kong.
Scenes circulating the internet that have shocked the nation. A man walks to a table of women at a restaurant in the northern Chinese city of Tangshan. He unleashes a brutal attack, slapping her in the face and pulling her hair. Others join in and drag her outside, dealing a barrage of blows as she lies on the ground. Related hashtags generated more than 500 million views on Chinese social media. The incident has prompted outrage in the country. Reports suggest the men involved may have been gang members, and the case has been handed over to police in the city of Langfang for further investigation.
From Bureaus Worldwide, this is FSN.
With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks, with more now on the package of limited reforms agreed by a bipartisan group of US senators on gun control. President Biden says it doesn't go far enough, but he'll sign the proposals into law as soon as possible in a bid to save at least some lives. We're going to hear today from one of the most compelling voices demanding even more action should be taken. Gabrielle Giffords is a former member of the House of Representatives. Her career in elected politics was cut short by a would-be assassin's bullet. She suffered a serious brain injury in January 2012 when she was attacked at an Arizona supermarket as she met constituents. Last week in Washington, she spoke at the launch of a new memorial for the nation's gun violence victims.
Stopping gun violence takes courage. The courage to do what's right. Now is the time to come together, be responsible. Democrats, Republicans, everyone. We must never stop fighting. Fight, fight, fight. Be bold. Be courageous. The nation's counting on you.
Activists seeking even greater change than the Senate this weekend agreed will continue to fight because the package of laws includes no measures to restrict the sale of assault rifles, nor indeed to ban them outright. With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks.
And the main news again. A group of 20 US senators have agreed a bipartisan deal to address gun violence following several high-profile mass shootings. Russian troops are said to have encircled the Ukrainian city of Severodonetsk, the last city in the Luhansk province still held by Ukraine. And surveillance footage that went viral in China of a vicious attack on a group of women has sparked outrage and ignited debate over predatory sexual behaviour.
After vetting the 37-year-old for factors such as looks, screen presence, and film credits, Hollywood insiders unanimously agreed this week that area man Dennis Kiernan lacks the sheer star power necessary to carry a major motion picture. Industry experts spoke to reporters today about the Charlottesville, Virginia resident, who they say just doesn't have what it takes to crack into the A-list.
Love him or hate him, I think we can all agree that Dennis Kiernan is not a bankable star. He's got to have sex appeal, talent, charisma, and most importantly, that X factor. I should want to sleep with Dennis. I should want to be Dennis. Do I want to be Dennis? No.
Experts agreed the Virginia native and father of one does not have the widespread appeal required to secure a distribution deal with wide release, while also saying they had no reason to believe Kiernan would ever be capable of delivering the type of powerhouse performance that generates buzz at Sundance, Cannes, or Comic-Con.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
Isn't it time for the circus?
Bring in the clowns.
Don't bother, they're here. This is Free Talk Live, in case you're wondering what you're listening to. We're a live call-in radio talk program where you can call in, take control of the airwaves, talk about whatever's on your minds. The telephone number, 603-283-6160. Again, 603-283-6160. We'll get to your calls and thoughts in just a moment. In the studio, it's myself, the captain.
It's Nikki.
And Mark.
I need to tell you that Bitcoin.com is the best source for learning about cryptocurrency. You can go there right now and click on Get Started at the top of the page. Once you do that, you'll find all sorts of valuable information neatly organized to suit your needs. There's no longer any excuse to ignore this important world-changing information. If you're already knowledgeable about cryptocurrency, you can check out news.bitcoin.com and get the latest headlines of all the news that's relevant to you. Bitcoin.com is your source for everything crypto, like getting a wallet, mining, trading, all the latest cryptocurrency news, and it's on a very slick and easy-to-use website. Please visit Bitcoin.com.
Yep, so you can buy, sell, trade, whatever you need to do there.
I like the news section. They have a writer particularly that I enjoy. His name is Jamie Redman. He does great work. Great work. Keeps me up on all the things going on with Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, along with all the other writers, too. Just Jamie has stood out to me as like not only longevity, but quality of his writing. So
agreed.
I enjoy it. We've been talking about all sorts of things, and I want to get into the subject of a very strange breakfast cereal. But before we do that, let's go talk to Amon in Tennessee. Amon, you're on Free Talk Live.
Did you guys hear about the protesters or whatever they're calling themselves that were packed up in a U-Haul, and somebody called and reported them, and they found like 31 of them in the back of a U-Haul going to a Pride March, and I guess they arrested them for something. I don't really know what they arrested them for, but they're supposed to
probably being 31 people in the back of a U-Haul.
Yeah, they had riot gear and all kind of stuff, and they were going to a Pride March or something. But
so they're gay protesters?
Do what?
They're gay protesters?
Yeah, I guess they were. I don't know. They didn't really say on the news or whatever, what they were there for. They just said that they were in the back of a U-Haul, and they got them out, and they arrested them. But I'm trying to figure out what they're arresting them for exactly.
Well, I don't think you can keep people in the back of a U-Haul. So that must have been it.
I understand that, but...
Or maybe they had weapons that were illegal?
Yeah, I imagine what they were trying to do was waylay them until after the Pride Festival, and then they'll let them go. Well, would be my guess.
I can tell you what CBSNews.com says about it. They say 31 Patriot Front members arrested near Pride event in Idaho.
They don't sound gay.
Police arrested 31 men found inside a U-Haul truck near a Pride event in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. On Saturday, police say they believe the men were affiliated with a white supremacist group and were intending to riot. It's clear to us, this is a quote, it's clear to us based on the gear the individuals had with them, along with the paperwork that we seized from them, that they came to riot downtown, Coeur d'Alene Police Chief Lee White said Saturday at a press conference. The irony is not lost on me that the Coeur d'Alene, Idaho police chief is named White.
It had to be in the back of a U-Haul. It had to be 190 degrees and there were 31 guys back there. They had to be some dedicated guys that they'd be doing it.
I know, especially wearing riot gear too.
Well, and
imagine the smell back there. No way, buddy. No way.
Don't fight. Don't fart, Earl.
Hey, thanks for the call. We appreciate it.
So you know what's interesting about this? I have a Vice article here about this, and they're calling them fascists.
Okay.
Which I just don't get. It just seems like
everybody you disagree with us is fascist.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like, oh, here's a trigger word. Let's just, whatever.
The memes that I've seen about this between when it happened and today are all pictures of these 31 guys who happen to be wearing khaki pants and like blue shirts, and then it's juxtaposed with a picture of federal agents who are wearing khaki pants and blue polo shirts. So you do your own research, figure it out for yourself. This article continues to say these men were seen in videos posted to social media, all wearing khakis, navy blue shirts, beige hats, and cloth facial coverings. The outfit is similar to what is worn by Patriot Front, which the Southern Poverty Law Center describes as a white supremacist group.
They certainly don't sound not white supremacist. I'll give them that. But at the same time, it's not like... I mean, all you have to do to scare a certain classification of liberal, of leftist out there, is to say that there are brown shirts about. And it's an easy thing to trot out because there's always going to be somebody who's upset about somebody else. I don't know why anybody's going to get upset about a gay pride festival, but apparently they are. I think it was interesting. Bill Maher was pointing out how the New York Gay Pride Festival didn't have a gay man on the board. There just wasn't one.
There's irony there. Yeah. Or humor or something.
Everybody's trans now.
Well, so then if everybody's trans and then they get fat, are they trans fat?
They may, indeed. They're margarine.
They're margarine.
The one thing I found interesting, I saw some stat on the internet.
I can't believe it's not butter.
If you look at the generations by how many gay people are in the generations from silent generation through currently the millennials, Gen Z, whatever wherever they were at, they apparently the numbers are skyrocketing of people who self-identify as LGBT.
Okay.
Well, yeah, because you get bullied now if you're straight.
Apparently, I don't know, but it's fascinating stuff to me. 20% of the population in Gen Z is self-identifying as LGBT.
Wow.
Now, if this number continues to skyrocket, there will be no babies in like 2050.
Well, that's the point. And it's making Alex Jones sound less crazy
as the days go by. I'm not really a fan of Alex Jones. I've heard his work, and it did serve some value to me in that I actually got sort of brought to the philosophy of liberty through some guests that he had on his show. Not necessarily through him, although, him and his staff had, the wherewithal to put these controversial type people on. So, his show has value. I'm just I don't like his style.
I like it best when he calls Free Talk Live. It's been a long time.
Agreed. But you are absolutely spot on in that everybody who has ever said, oh, he's a crazy cookie conspiracy, like more of the things he's said have come true than not.
Well, and it's interesting because one day on the show we were talking about the new virtual babies, and it's just it seems like this massive depopulation effort because and it's not like I don't believe in gay people happening naturally, and it's not like I have anything against gay people, but it's just not. It's not natural. They don't have babies, and the whole point of the whole point of life is to sustain life. So to basically all we're supposed to do is eat, sleep, and have babies. That's what pretty much every animal does. So if most of the population is gay, then
well,
no more people.
The bit of the workaround here is that they're LGBT. So the T doesn't disallow babies.
Yeah.
It just means that that what is it? Baby bearing humans can have
birthing people.
Birthing people can have babies, but you can't call them women. Now, of course, I realize I'm too old to have an opinion on this subject, but to me, I was taught to respect women for women, to give women respect. So this doesn't fit into my paradigm, and I understand that. Yeah. And I don't want to. I've drawn the line at using plural pronouns to describe singular people. Just not up for that one in particular. But I try to play along. I try to be cool about it all. But
So you're telling me the T in LGBT doesn't mean like cut your hair into a mohawk and put on a bunch of gold chains and say I pity the fool?
That's right, indeed. Oh. Does that stand for anything? Mr. T stand for anything? Tenacious B.
You'd have to ask Mr. T.
Yeah.
Or maybe his wife, Mrs. T.
B.A. Baracus was like bad attitude.
Bad attitude, yeah, right. Yeah. B.A. Baracus. Or Bob Baracus, if you want to pronounce it. 603-283-6160. This is Free Talk Live. More coming up.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at Bitcoin.com. That's Bitcoin.com.
Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. Chat.lrn.fm.
Do you feel like your nation, state, or community no longer holds your values? Have you dreamt of a place where people agree that liberty is important and are free to pursue their projects so long as they respect the property of others? There are many people just like you that are discovering freeprivatecities.com. Their social media links are at the upper right of the page at freeprivatecities.com. All skill levels will be needed when the first of the Free Private Cities opens. It's sooner than you think. Stop arguing and build. freeprivatecities.com.
So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com.
So the protection of life, liberty, and property is what the Free State Project is all about. But it's an effort to move 20,000 people who understand.
It's about demonstrating to the entire country
that, yeah, we can have a free market, a truly free market.
Making it just a freer, great place to live.
It's the world's largest voluntarist libertarian community, and it's only getting bigger.
That's amazing, to be able to move to a place where other people passionately believe in being free and independent.
What the Free State Project is managing to do, though, is to put their money where their mouth is. It's physically getting up across the country and saying, let's go someplace and let's demonstrate the power of these ideas. There's a lot of kind of philosophy that surrounds liberty. There's a lot of thinking about it and talking about it. But here in New Hampshire, people are doing it.
101 Reasons Liberty Lives in New Hampshire, a documentary by Free State Project Early Movers. Watch it free at 101reasonsfilm.com. 101reasonsfilm.com. If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com. The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism, will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount.
We're still not sure why you'd want to watch, but our video feed is streaming nightly for free at cam.freetalklive.com.
And we're back. An ode to Richie Rich. Yes, it is Free Talk Live. You can call in and talk about whatever's on your mind. The telephone number you need to tattoo on your sibling's forehead.
Don't do that.
No?
No. It's changed.
What about grab a crayon right on the fridge?
Okay, you can wipe that off.
All right, 603-283-6160. Again, 603-283-6160. In the studio tonight, it's myself, the Reverend Captain Kickass, joining me.
Nikki.
And Mark.
So we're going to switch topics here because, well, there's really no segue since we just had a little bit of a pause. And the gentleman who's normally here with us on Sundays, Richie Rich, had asked us to cover this, and so I thought, sure, why not? This is from OKCFox.com. The headline reads, uterus-shaped period crunch cereal hopes to spark menstruation conversations.
Sounds fun.
What kind of conversations have we not had about menstruations that are important?
I mean, I think where they're trying to go with this is it's still kind of taboo. Like, people don't necessarily want to hear about it, and it's...
Would anybody like to hear about my bowel movement earlier than the day?
I think it's totally different.
I remember one of my parental units, whenever you felt a little under the weather or whatever, the first question out of her mouth, have you moved your bowels?
Yeah, it's a good question.
I'm like, oh, okay. But she seemed obsessive about it. So anyway.
I think you feel better. I think it's something you ought to consider. First off, eat enough leafy greens.
Yeah,
that
water.
You're moving. Yeah, have enough water that you're moving your bowels every day.
Yeah, fiber.
And 3 prunes a day, it'll change your life.
So anyway, this uterus-shaped breakfast cereal, called Period Crunch. They show some photos of it. I can't really describe it to you.
Other than it's shaped like the bifurcated uterus.
It's it's
turns the
completely
milk red.
It's completely red.
I love that part.
I hope there's no artificial food colorings in this.
So
I want to know.
Is there corn syrup in it?
I want to know how come this cereal is not named Red Wings, because that is the term for, well, I can't really
let's just leave
describe,
that alone.
But I think the folks who have heard that term before know what it means.
Yeah, they liked it.
And would agree that should be the name of this cereal. But anyway, I digress.
So it's clear to me that activists want us to talk about and experience something. But it is lost upon me what that something is. Right? Like and admittedly, I don't live in the world where I guess, I just don't know what it is. This wouldn't be a taboo subject for me. Obviously, I'm discussing it now.
I mean, what's next? Sperm flakes?
Yeah, but what do you have to... My question on that would be the same thing. What is the point of having the conversation? If nobody would have ever had a conversation with me about sex and nobody told me about sex, I don't think it would have messed me up. I think I would have figured it out.
Yeah, I mean, with me, I have a lot of conversations about this because of my line of work.
You're a doula.
A doula, and I work with women a lot, and I do a lot with fertility and helping them balancing their hormones. So, I mean, this is normal to me, but let me tell you, a cereal isn't going to help.
I think it's funny.
I know,
Would you, being in the profession that you're in, would you, if somebody handed you a box of this and said, here, try this?
If there was no food colorings or corn syrup in it, yes, I would eat it.
Would you distribute it if they gave you a few boxes to hand out to your clients?
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Would, if they contacted you, Mark, or your sales manager, would you allow them to advertise?
As long as the ad was tasteful and did not violate FCC rules, you're darn right.
What about, doesn't the cereal need to be tasteful?
I would try
tasty,
it.
I guess.
Okay, so to me, I would call breakfast cereal breakfast candy. And I'm against breakfast cereals generally. I will, I'll make some kind of exception for muesli,
or plain ass oatmeal.
Oatmeal, yeah. Well, you can put fruit and oatmeal, and it gets pretty good.
But it's not breakfast candy at that point.
Right. So the things that I had when I was young, my son has never gotten. I'm sure he'll discover them at some point, but he hasn't gotten them from us.
Well, let's see what this article has to say. This is out of Washington. A women's intimate health company wants conversations about menstruation to never be off the table, quite literally.
I do like these articles when they do this with all the puns.
Intimnia, a company that provides a comprehensive collection of products and information for women, is branching out into breakfast cereal to keep those period-centric conversations on the table. The company announced the creation of Period Crunch, a box of raspberry-flavored cereal-shaped uteri. Raspberry-flavored.
Well, it's bad, I guess.
To raise awareness of the lack of conversation about periods in the home. Here's a quote. I'm delighted that Intimnia has taken the bull by the horns and developed Period Crunch to help raise awareness of the ongoing social stigma around periods. Intimnia gynecologist Dr. Sri Datta said periods are a natural...
Dr. Datta?
D-A-T-T-A, but yes. Periods are a natural part of who we are, so it's deeply concerning to hear that so many people remain uncomfortable discussing them when they are just another part of our health. It's heartbreaking to hear that 25% of people have taught themselves about periods when there is support available. I look forward to Period Crunch kickstarting some difficult conversations and breaking down barriers over the breakfast table.
I hate to be a hater, but I just don't know if this is going to do that.
Yeah,
well, we have started the conversation. I don't feel like I've learned anything about periods in the conversation at this point.
Yeah, I don't think the cereal itself, we're talking about it, but the cereal itself isn't really going to start any actual, meaningful conversation about biology or science or
health. What do people need to know? I presume that there's a moment in time, there's some time between, say, 11 and 14, where young women have to learn a lot about periods. Young men?
And they're not learning a lot. They're learning this is what a tampon is.
Okay.
That's what they're learning, and that's I think it's a huge problem.
Okay.
Because there's so much that goes into women's cycles and into their hormones.
I thought tampons would cause, shock and stuff. You don't use them. Bad ideas.
Yeah. So I'm really against them. I don't think people should be using them, but that's what little girls are being taught, and then they're kind of just put on hormonal birth control from their doctors, and everybody thinks that the period you get when you're on hormonal birth control is a period. It's not. That is not a real period.
Okay.
And no.
Well, what's the difference?
So it's really has to do with the hormonal cycles.
Okay.
So what it's
it
blocks the natural hormones.
Right. It basically turns a creek into a ditch in the sense that it walls in. You have to have it at a certain time. It forces it to. But everything that occurs in a period occurs the same time. It's
pretty
just
much,
not caused hormonally.
Yeah.
Okay. Great. I need to understand these things. I guess I can see. Yeah, I can see that. So. The difficulty is that when we were, a couple early on, obviously we didn't want babies until we wanted babies, and a good way to avoid that was the pill.
But there are other ways.
Okay, what other ways do you recommend?
Cycle tracking.
Okay.
Which would take a long time for me to get into.
Is this the rhythm method?
Yes, pretty much.
Okay, so
603-283-6160. More about Period Crunch breakfast cereal coming up here on Free Talk Live.
The easiest thing in the world for a reader to do is to stop reading, according to the late, great Barney Kilgore, who became managing editor of the Wall Street Journal in 1941 and grew the paper's circulation from 33,000 to 1 million by the 60s. And he'd be pleased to know that his paper is one of the few that people now pay to read online. Someone else pre-internet who realized that attention is fragile? Motown Records founder Berry Gordy. In the early 60s, when his label dominated the charts, he'd bring a dozen real people into the Hitsville, USA studios and audition songs. And he'd ask, if you were down to your last dollar, would you spend it on this record or would you buy a sandwich? Today, attention span seems like an oxymoron. For tips on cutting through the clutter, hit survivalspeech.com. I'm Holland Cook.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Nick Harper. A group of 20 US senators have agreed a bipartisan deal to address gun violence following several high-profile mass shootings. President Joe Biden has praised the agreement, even though it doesn't include a ban on assault weapons, something he'd been calling for. The 10 Republicans and 10 Democrats announced the framework deal, which could become the first gun measure fully approved by Congress in years. It includes incentives to encourage more states to implement red flag laws, which stop people deemed a risk to themselves or others from buying firearms. And there's extra funding for mental health and school safety measures. Democratic Senator Chris Coons was involved in the negotiations.
There's still a lot of work to do. There's still a long way to go, but I'm really encouraged by today's announcement. Frankly, it really helped to have Senator John Cornyn, a conservative, aggressive Republican, making it clear what might get more than 10 Republican Senate votes.
A 60-vote threshold is needed for legislation to pass the Senate. President Biden had wanted more, including a ban on assault weapons, but he has praised the agreement in a statement, writing that it would be the most significant gun safety legislation to pass Congress in decades. Russian troops are said to have encircled the Ukrainian city of Severodonetsk. It's fast become the epicenter of the fight for control over Ukraine's eastern region of Donbass. Sergio Olmas reports from Kiev.
The governor of Luhansk says that there are civilians as well as Ukrainian fighters in an industrial plant in the city of Severodonetsk. Russian armed forces have almost encircled Severodonetsk. They have not cut it off. Ukraine has been able to resupply and reinforce its positions in Severodonetsk. In fact, the president of Ukraine went to the city just across the river in Lysychansk. Artillery rounds do not stop landing in that area. It's incredibly dangerous to just be there. The Russian armed forces have nearly taken control of the city, but Ukraine has been holding out.
Surveillance footage that went viral in China over the weekend of a vicious attack on a group of women has sparked outrage there and ignited debate over predatory sexual behaviour in the country. Reports say police have arrested 9 men and the case has been handed over to another municipality for investigation. Patrick Falk reports from Hong Kong.
Scenes circulating the internet that have shocked the nation. A man walks to a table of women at a restaurant in the northern Chinese city of Tangshan. He unleashes a brutal attack, slapping her in the face and pulling her hair. Others join in and drag her outside, dealing a barrage of blows as she lies on the ground. Related hashtags generated more than 500 million views on Chinese social media. The incident has prompted outrage in the country. Reports suggest the men involved may have been gang members, and the case has been handed over to police in the city of Langfang for further investigation.
From Bureaus Worldwide, this is FSN.
You can help spread the ideas of liberty with our Patreon for just $5 per month at amps.freetalklive.com.
Free Talk Live.
No, you're supposed to say...
And we're back!
Thank you.
Oh, and we're back.
You're supposed to imitate Richie Rich and be, and we're back.
I can give the telephone number, 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. That's our VoIP line. Call on in. I think it all is toll-free at this point.
I mean, unless you have a landline and you're out of state, So I think long distance still exists as far as a charge.
Somebody will charge you for long distance. Certainly.
Somebody who's had their landline for 40 years at the same residence in rural,
God bless them.
Rural BFE, that kind of a thing. Perhaps there's still a rotary phone on the property somewhere. I would imagine that somebody somewhere is still getting charged long distance to dial outside of their area code.
You can get those old AT&T phones, the old Bell phones, and they don't run on a cord. You can just have them run on the landline to the plug, and they run on the 16 volts or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And so even when the power's out, sometimes the phone still works.
Right. When people talk to me about, they're buying a piece of property, they're having a house built, or they're buying a piece of property where they're having like an old house torn down. I always mention, hey, if there's a POTS line, plain old telephone service, this is known as a landline to most people. If that exists, maintain one, if for nothing more than an emergency purpose. Get your, you don't even have to leave your phone plugged in, but get the service, pay the whatever, $10 a month or whatever it is, no voicemail, nothing on it, just to have service. Because the old POTS system, plain old telephone service, landline, is, as Mark pointed out, self-powered. It is a separate network from your electric company, from any of the other utilities, and in a grid-down situation, that thing is designed to remain active, and it will provide a little bit of power. There are people who have manufactured devices that you can find online that you can plug into an active telephone port, right?
And make your margaritas?
A jack, and you can have a light, for example, when the power goes out.
Or a blender.
Or a blender.
Your blender's really slow.
Or you can charge your cell phone on it, that kind of a thing. So there is a bit of power there that you can tap into.
You could, yeah.
Also, too, the landline telephone network is still connected, and if you're calling even, I think, within a local area to another place, another residence that has a landline, the odds are that call is going to go through. So, little survival 101.
If there is somebody else with a landline anywhere.
Which, maybe there isn't, but, it's just one of those things that's, it's good for a prep, and it's very cost effective at any rate. Let's go to the phones and the fun. We have Sarah from New Mexico calling. Sarah, you're on Free Talk Live.
Oh, yes. Let me get speakerphone. Yes, I just wanted to mention that I found a Himalayan salt, which has an oil diffuser dish on top.
Okay.
Ooh, I like the sound of that.
So does the oil drip sort of seep into the salt block?
No. It's got a metal dish pan, like a 1.5 inch diameter dish pan.
Okay.
So you could put your oil of your choice, and then the light bulb inside heats up the oil. So it's like, what do you call those oil lamps that you put candles on the bottom to heat the oil up?
Just a wax burner?
Yeah, something kind of similar to that, but it's not really a candle. It's just a light bulb, but it's hot enough to warm up the oil on that dish. So it's kind of like a diffuser and a salt lamp all in one.
Why would you want this particular device? Why would you want a thing that has a light bulb in it that warms up oil in a dish?
Well, it's kind of like an oil warmer plus the salt lamp together. So it's an ionizer and a salt and a diffuser.
What does the ionizing of the salt or oil do?
Well, you know what? I used to think this was a scam, but see that if you heat up the salt, it actually adds a negative electron to the oxygen molecule. That's what the claim is, and I actually believe it. Because Ian thought he thought it was just a con.
Well, Ian's prepared to believe everything's a con. I have a inhaler that I do for the salt. I have a salt inhaler that I use. But I was very skeptical of anything that had to do with essential oils for a long time. And then somebody close to me gave me just a roller thing, peppermint oil, because I was getting headaches. Post-COVID, I had some brain damage due to COVID, and I was getting these headaches that I had never had before. And you know what? If with the pepper and oil, you rub it on the side of your neck, back of your neck. I even go so far as to go around the front of my neck because, well, hell, I've gone 3/4 of the way around. Why not keep going? It works. It gets rid of headaches.
It also gets rid of mice.
I haven't had any problems with mice in my collar, but
Sarah?
Yes. But I just wanted to see the part that Ian thought I was a con was that he doesn't believe that salt being heated with a lamp or a candle actually ionizes the oxygen molecule. Because that's what, when I seen it advertised in the
I wouldn't be able to tell you
catalog,
whether that's scientifically so or not. I'm not prepared to do that. But I can tell you that my mom and my grandma believed strongly that if you were ill, you should go to the beach. Now, we were from Bradenton, Florida, and, no big deal to go to the beach.
Well, but Sarah, you better hang on to that thing because, eventually the government will ban assault lamps. Thanks for the call, Sarah.
I'm looking around at all of these EMFs, all of this technology, and I'm like, we need a salt lamp in here. ASAP.
EMFs?
EMFs?
Like
electromagnetic field.
Oh, I thought it was like, eccentric MFers.
We've got that too.
That'd be fun too,
All right, so we were talking about this cereal, this breakfast cereal, in the shape of uteri.
Speaking of eccentric MFers,
yeah,
whoever made this.
Raspberry flavored, which...
Yum.
I mean, I'm just going to go ahead and say that I'm pretty sure that's not the actual flavor of the thing.
How do you know?
It's been something to avoid.
At any rate, the cereal was designed to resemble the structure of a uterus and made even more realistic when milk is poured as the cereal quickly turns it red. Also, instead of calling it Period Crunch or even Red Wings, they could have called it Aunt Flo.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, that would have been a good one.
Aunt Flo's a common one.
So it also gives me a Halloween vibe. The milk turns red.
Nearly half of all people, 48%, say they are uncomfortable having open conversations.
I'm uncomfortable about the cereal.
I'd be more uncomfortable about the cereal than I would about having the conversation.
Right.
Or uncomfortable having open conversations.
I feel like I learned more from Nikki than I learned from the article, I got to say.
Yeah, me too.
I think it's... So, Nikki, speaking of which, you were saying that you like the idea that one doesn't regulate one's time based on pills and just sort of lets it occur, that you think that and this makes sense, right?
So the issue with it is it's causing women to get all sorts of diseases, cervical cancer. It messes with all of their hormonal cycles. So that's endometriosis. It messes with your metabolism. And it's crazy because doctors are prescribing the birth control pill to heal women or, to regulate your cycle or to fix acne or this, that, or the other thing. But really, it doesn't do. It's just masking symptoms of a deeper issue.
Wait, a medical procedure that just masks symptoms and doesn't actually address the root cause? That never happens.
Yeah, exactly. So what women can do, and I believe little girls should be being taught this instead of, just go on the pill. You can track your cycle in there for birth control purposes and for also the inverse, getting pregnant. There's only a small window where you can get pregnant. So if women can tell the signs of when they're fertile or ovulating, they don't need to be on birth control and they can take their power back.
Apparently 77% of people say they've never had a conversation about periods at the kitchen table. I suspect that will remain the same. 603-283-6160 is the telephone number here at Free Talk Live. The phones are open.
Free Talk Live.
I mean, what I'm saying is that if you do something that could cause harm, you should be prosecuted for it.
Private Manning was prosecuted for it. Private Manning was in jail for 7 years. Private Manning was given a 35-year sentence, which is by far and away the largest sentence ever given to a person that was a whistleblower.
Not a whistleblower.
There's a video of a helicopter gunning down reporters. That's a war crime.
But ultimately, the people in the military are following the orders of thugs and liars and criminals in Washington, D.C., and as much information and as much light can be shed about their activities should be shed on their activities.
And gunning down journalists and then laughing about it is a war crime. And anybody that's defending that is an absolutely horrible, despicable person.
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
How many lawyers does it take to change a light bulb? None. They'd rather keep their clients in the dark. There are too many lawyer jokes to count. However, there are some lawyers with more noble intentions. At the Institute for Justice, we bring the light to our clients. We are a non-profit public interest law firm with clear values and principles. At IJ, we fight for those whose most basic rights are denied by the government. Visit our website today at ij.org.
There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com.
Hey, you are going to love the movie Victimless Crime Spree. It's hilarious, heartwarming, and carries a ton of inspiring freedom messages. Feeling down about the lack of liberty in your life? You need to put on this film with some friends and have a good laugh. It's a true story about me and my friends in New Hampshire living free, singing, dancing, and getting arrested. Of course, it's all on video, and the bad guys, the cops, judges, bailiffs, and sheriffs, they all play their part like it's out of a movie or something. You would think we scripted the whole thing, but it's real life. Go ahead and have a watch, and if it's been a while, have another look. I guarantee you'll notice things now that you didn't notice before. And the best part is that you're going to walk away feeling a renewed sense of your own power. You are the master of your destiny, and you will be free in your lifetime. Victimless Crime Spree.
What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
I'm a little obsessed with My Magic Mud. Several years ago, I met Jessica Armand, the founder and CEO of My Magic Mud, and I didn't even know my teeth were coffee stained. A week's worth of use convinced me, and now I use it every 3 or 4 days. It's clinically proven to whiten teeth, and I think it cleans better, too. My Magic Mud's available at most local health food stores, Sprouts, Natural Grocers, CVS, Walmart's Natural Beauty Aisle, but I can get it for you for 20% off with coupon code FTL20 at MyMagicMud.com. FTL20, MyMagicMud.com.
Yep, we still do email. Drop your email address in the entry box at freetalklive.com, and you'll be kept in the loop with Free Talk Live.
Yes, we are back. It is Free Talk Live, the Sunday night edition. The telephone number here in the studio, if you would like to join the conversation and be broadcast on a nationally syndicated radio show that's also on the internet and some satellite stations, call the following number. 603
283-6160. That's 603-283-6160.
In the studio tonight, it's myself, the captain.
It's Nikki.
And Mark, can you tell I have a little bit of a throat thing going on? My voice is a little deeper than normal. And
I guess so now that you mention it. I hear you got a little extra broke.
I think it's that I'm not used to talking as much.
I can't imagine.
I did 6 days a week, 3 hours a day, 18 hours of talk radio for many, many years, and, haven't really done it for a year.
I think it's just because we went to the thing on Friday. And
that lady kissed me?
Well, okay, no, I think it was because you had
right on the lips.
You had to talk to people outdoors who are also radio broadcasters who are also as deaf as you.
Right.
And that means you have to talk a little bit louder to these people, and they have to, and you're not used to talking you're used to the microphone doing the work for you, and you had a day where you didn't have the microphone doing the work for you.
Yeah, well,
that's what I think.
I think it was the standing out there on the docks, French kissing the sailors.
I think some lemon honey tea, and you'll be right as rain.
I'm down for anything that gives me extra sugar. You can get away with. I just had a couple of bananas. Very nice.
Do you really want liberty in your lifetime? Not you, Mark. I mean, you, the listener. Later this year, Mark is speaking at Free Cities Foundation annual conference, Liberty in Our Lifetime.
What are we going to talk about?
It's in the beautiful city of Prague. I know that.
It's going to be nice.
It's from October 21 to 23 and showcases autonomous cities and intentional communities that are springing up around the world, offering opportunities for settlers to live freer lives. The conference theme is Parallel Structures for Progress, and we'll explore physical developments and parallel structures emerging in education and finance that offer alternatives for people looking for better ways to learn, educate their children, and invest in their future. Free Private Cities is offering all Free Talk Live listeners a very special 20% discount. That's generous. On tickets, which can be claimed when checking out on Eventbrite with the promo code FTL20. That's FTL20. To find out more about the conference, visit lifetimeliberty.com and follow the conference Twitter via the handle @LibertyIOL. Make sure you get your tickets soon to take advantage of the early bird discount. If you'd like to buy your ticket in Bitcoin, you can drop them a Twitter DM for instructions. That's nice that you're offering a crypto purchase option.
Yeah, I like that.
Particularly, I mean, amongst freedom people, cryptocurrency is very popular. Freedom-oriented people recognize...
It'll get spread a little farther, too. I mean, the internet just likes it when you accept crypto.
There's nothing that irks me more than some sort of a Liberty get-together and, like, they don't have a cryptocurrency option for you to buy.
We're going to do that next year.
Yeah. So lifetimeliberty.com, the discount code FTL20. It's in Prague, October 21 through the 23rd. I hope to see as many of you as possible. Again, lifetimeliberty.com.
I hear Prague is lovely that time of year.
We'll talk about that off here. I feel like I missed an opportunity to go to Prague when I was doing the band thing, and I really want to go. So
did you do Prague rock?
We would have done Prague metal, but not progressive, but just metal in Prague, and therefore Prague metal. All right, so moving right along. I'm done talking about the period crunch.
Yeah, I think we've had enough of that.
There is some news in Bitcoin, and we were just sort of mentioning the Bitcoin option with lifetimeliberty.com. We haven't been able to talk about this yet on Free Talk Live that I'm aware of, so we'll talk about it now. The big news, this is from CryptoPotato.com.
Sounds legit.
It's been verified by other sources. It's just the first one that popped into my feed. PayPal allows withdrawal of Bitcoin and Ethereum to personal wallets, freeing you of their previously captive system where you could put USD into your PayPal account and then say, hey, PayPal, I would like to buy some Bitcoin. And they would go, okay, we'll deduct $100 from your PayPal account. And now there's this separate column with $100 that says it's Bitcoin, but you couldn't do anything with it,
right? You just
other than move it back into your PayPal account as USD if you wanted to buy
and
something.
Sell. So essentially, they gave you a trade option, which you had to presume was true, because if you don't have the keys, it's not your coin,
right? Which you did not have previously.
I could put up a website tomorrow send me money and I will list your crypto on my website,
right?
And then, when you feel like selling it, I promise I'll send it back to you. Now, that actually is a pyramid scheme. That's a Ponzi scheme, as it were.
It's a scam, for sure.
You have to be able to get the crypto in order to be legit, in my opinion.
Mine, too. And so PayPal had not done that, and they received plenty of criticism, not only from us here on Free Talk Live, but from a whole bunch of other places. And so apparently, as of June 7th, they updated their terms and conditions to reflect this. So we'll just go through the bullet points here. Starting today, PayPal supports the native transfer of cryptocurrencies between PayPal and other wallets and exchanges. said the online payment provider in a statement. The external transfers feature is being rolled out to new users today and will be available across the U.S. within 2 weeks. So 2 weeks from June 7th, you do the math. I was told there would be none. PayPal began allowing users to buy, sell, and hold cryptocurrencies within the platform starting in 2020. These include Bitcoin, Ethereum, Bitcoin Cash, and Litecoin, all top names at the time. Similar services were made available to the UK in September. According to PayPal's terms and conditions, again updated on the 7th, external transfers only require the external wallet's public address. Identifying information like that required in Europe when withdrawing to self-custodial wallets will not be requested. And bravo. Notably, PayPal does not
get it while you can, folks, because it's coming.
Yeah,
true. The fact is that the banks have figured out that they're not going to be able to get rid of crypto at this point. So the only thing they can do is KYC everybody who has it. And so if you can, my advice to you, ladies and gentlemen, is get some Bitcoin or whatever cryptocurrency it is that's your particular flavor.
Bitcoin Cash, Ethereum, whatever.
Put it in a wallet and don't do anything with it. Just get it. Don't get it with your name. Have it completely non-KYC'd, because you can always white label it.
Yep.
But you can never re-black label it.
Right. Yes, sadly. Monero I like as well. There's some privacy.
I'm very fond of Monero. I wish that it would perform financially better than it has, but I don't have any explanation for that.
I think we're just in a holding pattern with crypto right now.
I think we're in the new Bitcoin winter, and it just came faster than we expected.
Notably, PayPal does not charge its customers for crypto transactions, distinguishing it from the business model of most exchanges. PayPal's upper management has been bullish on crypto assets for some time. Co-founder Peter Thiel has a particular fondness for Bitcoin, believing himself to have underinvested back in October. And the final bullet point, the intersection between CBDC, stablecoins, digital wallets, and enhanced utility of payments through cryptocurrencies is not just fascinating, but I think it will redefine a lot of the financial world going forward, said CEO Dan Schulman in a speech at Access Tel Aviv in March.
It already is. I mean, like, Bitcoin did everything that it hoped to do, in so much as the governments are now trying to mimic it with these central bank digital currencies, these CBDCs as they call them.
But they're missing the point, because the whole point is for it to be decentralized.
They're not missing the point. They're evil. The point is to take their power from them. They have not missed the point. They are trying to get other people to miss the point. Ladies and gentlemen,
I agree.
The government has used money to prosecute its wars, commit genocides, and do all of the things that governments have done that's bad up to this point. I will give you an example. Wait 1 second. I know that most Americans consider World War II. Now, I'm going to leave this alone as to whether or not I consider World War II to be a pointless war. But World War II to have been the most just war of our lifetimes, blah, blah, blah. None of us in the studio have been alive during World War II. During World War II, they told Americans, buy war bonds.
They did.
That was just 1944 as recently, right? Mm-hmm. Well, in 2003... When George Bush was asked what Americans could do to support the war efforts in Afghanistan and Iraq, he answered, "It's completely different. Go shopping."
Mm-hmm. Consumerism.
He suggested that the velocity of money mattered, as opposed to some kind of backing of a currency. Buying war bonds backed the American dollar. That didn't need to happen anymore because something fundamental changed about the U.S. dollar.
What was that?
Backing, basically. There isn't any.
603-283-6160.
By the way, Bitcoin's backed with math. I could hear all the gold bugs screaming.
More Free Talk Live is coming up, and that's true.
When Monster Hunter International discovers one of Isaac Newton's wardstones being auctioned off, they decide to steal it and use it to destroy the Chaos God once and for all. But a mysterious thief upends their plan, and it soon becomes a race against time as something much older and infinitely more evil awakens in the jungles of South America. Monster Hunter Bloodlines by New York Times bestselling author Larry Correia and Baen Books. Visit monsterhunternation.com for more.
There are basically two types of advertising, direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first call should be to Mark Worden from Porcupine Real Estate. He's more than just a real estate agent. He's your New Hampshire concierge. Where are the best places to live? Do you want farm, city, the burbs, or forest? Do you want a duplex or multifamily building so that renters pay your mortgage? There are homes in all price ranges in New Hampshire, and Mark can help with financing too. Invest in Liberty and property. Mark Worden can help.
PorcupineRealEstate.com.
Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. Chat.lrn.fm.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 3 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Nick Harper. A group of 20 US senators have agreed a bipartisan deal to address gun violence following several high-profile mass shootings. President Joe Biden has praised the agreement, even though it doesn't include a ban on assault weapons, something he'd been calling for. The 10 Republicans and 10 Democrats announced the framework deal, which could become the first gun measure fully approved by Congress in years. It includes incentives to encourage more states to implement red flag laws, which stop people deemed a risk to themselves or others from buying firearms. And there's extra funding for mental health and school safety measures. Democratic Senator Chris Coons was involved in the negotiations.
There's still a lot of work to do. There's still a long way to go, but I'm really encouraged by today's announcement. Frankly, it really helped to have Senator John Cornyn, a conservative, aggressive Republican, making it clear what might get more than 10 Republican Senate votes.
A 60-vote threshold is needed for legislation to pass the Senate. President Biden had wanted more, including a ban on assault weapons, but he has praised the agreement in a statement, writing that it would be the most significant gun safety legislation to pass Congress in decades. Russian troops are said to have encircled the Ukrainian city of Severodonetsk. It's fast become the epicenter of the fight for control over Ukraine's eastern region of Donbass. As Sergio Olmas reports from Kiev.
The governor of Luhansk says that there are civilians as well as Ukrainian fighters in an industrial plant in the city of Severodonetsk. Russian armed forces have almost encircled Severodonetsk. They have not cut it off. Ukraine has been able to resupply and reinforce its positions in Severodonetsk. In fact, the president of Ukraine went to the city just across the river in Lysychansk. Artillery rounds do not stop landing in that area. It is incredibly dangerous. The Russian armed forces have nearly taken control of the city, but Ukraine has been holding out.
Surveillance footage that went viral in China over the weekend of a vicious attack on a group of women has sparked outrage there and ignited debate over predatory sexual behaviour in the country. Reports say police have arrested 9 men and the case has been handed over to another municipality for investigation. Patrick Falk reports from Hong Kong.
Scenes circulating the internet that have shocked the nation. A man walks to a table of women at a restaurant in the northern Chinese city of Tangshan. He unleashes a brutal attack, slapping her in the face and pulling her hair. Others join in and drag her outside, dealing a barrage of blows as she lies on the ground. Related hashtags generated more than 500 million views on Chinese social media. The incident has prompted outrage in the country. Reports suggest the men involved may have been gang members, and the case has been handed over to police in the city of Langfang for further investigation.
From Bureaus Worldwide, this is FSN.
With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks, with more now on the package of limited reforms agreed by a bipartisan group of US senators on gun control. President Biden says it doesn't go far enough, but he'll sign the proposals into law as soon as possible in a bid to save at least some lives. We're going to hear today from one of the most compelling voices demanding even more action should be taken. Gabrielle Giffords is a former member of the House of Representatives. Her career in elected politics was cut short by a would-be assassin's bullet. She suffered a serious brain injury in January 2012 when she was attacked at an Arizona supermarket as she met constituents. Last week in Washington, she spoke at the launch of a new memorial for the nation's gun violence victims.
Stopping gun violence takes courage. The courage to do what's right. Now is the time to come together, be responsible. Democrats, Republicans, everyone. We must never stop fighting. Fight, fight, fight. Be bold. Be courageous. The nation's counting on you.
Activists seeking even greater change than the Senate this weekend agreed will continue to fight because the package of laws includes no measures to restrict the sale of assault rifles, nor indeed to ban them outright. With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks.
And the main news again. A group of 20 US senators have agreed a bipartisan deal to address gun violence following several high-profile mass shootings. Russian troops are said to have encircled the Ukrainian city of Severodonetsk, the last city in the Luhansk province still held by Ukraine. And surveillance footage that went viral in China of a vicious attack on a group of women has sparked outrage and ignited debate over predatory sexual behaviour.
Readers rejoice! This week, Amazon unveiled the Kindle Flair, the latest model of their popular e-reader. The improved device has the ability to loudly and repeatedly announce the title of the book you're reading so everyone knows how smart you are.
Breakfast of Champions by Kurt Vonnegut.
The hot new e-reader includes a massive catalog of titles, a sleek, easy-to-use interface, and a loud, clear voice that barks the name and author of your book on a loop. Amazon says the repetitive shouting is a small feature that makes a big difference. Readers say that with crystal clear 150 decibel stereo speakers, the Flair provides the most conspicuous reading experience yet. When you're not reading, the Flair automatically switches into bookshelf mode, which conserves power and reads off a list of everything on your Kindle.
Blink by Malcolm Gladwell, a confederacy of dunces.
And Amazon's competition has also stepped up their game as Apple released a new iPad that whispers, "I have an iPad," over and over again.
This is the Onion News Network. Free Talk Live.
And we're back.
Oh, it's said like a professional broadcaster. Wow. You're going to have to give Richie Rich a lesson or two on how to pull that off.
Wow. I can only Richie Rich can be Richie Rich.
That's true. That's true. I don't see you imitating Richie Rich. Like anytime, like I don't even know if
he doesn't have the right beard.
If that's in your wheelhouse.
Oh God, is that beard? I mean, yeah.
It is.
My advice to broadcasters is modulate your voice,
modulate
up
your
and
voice.
down. So
modulate your voice.
Yeah, I think you got to do more. It's like jazz hands on stage. You got to do more than
more cowbell
you would normally do.
If you're wondering what you're listening to, the show is called Free Talk Live. You can find out more about us over at freetalklive.com. In the studio tonight, it's myself, the Reverend Captain Kickass. Joining me,
it's Nikki
and Mark Edge, Intergalactic Space Wizard.
I like that. You have a title. It's
Indeed,
nice.
Yeah,
it's nice.
I didn't go get my hat.
You did not.
Yeah.
No. Can't you just like cast a spell and magically have it appear on your head?
Well, spells are done through the course of actions. So I will cast a spell that will make the hat appear on my head. It'll just involve me walking up the stairs too.
It seems non-wizardly.
Well, you just don't understand spells and wizardliness.
I guess not. What I do understand is that Free Talk Live's video archives have been on LBRY for years. LBRY is an uncensorable, decentralized, blockchain-based media sharing protocol, and we're big fans of it here on Free Talk Live. In 2020, LBRY launched Odysee, a video sharing website to compete with YouTube, and it's really taking off and now has over 1 million channels, many of whom are disaffected YouTube creators. During YouTube's crackdown for not towing the government line on COVID, the Free Talk Live YouTube channel started receiving strikes and could be completely taken down at any
time.
moment. Yeah,
at any time.
I'm kind of surprised
it will be
it's still
taken down
there.
again at any time. We get strikes constantly.
Thankfully, Odyssey started offering...
Because I say COVID.
Well, yeah, and we disagree with the official narrative frequently on this show. Odyssey started offering live streaming, so now Free Talk Live is streaming every night and posting our video archives permanently to Odyssey. You can watch live or anytime on our Odyssey channel. Just visit video.freetalklive.com. If you want to go all in, download the desktop app over at lbry.com, and then every video archive you watch, you'll help to seed and keep it online forever. Visit video.freetalklive.com. Follow us on Odyssey today. Again, video.freetalklive.com. So we talked about PayPal allowing withdrawals finally to regular non-custodial Bitcoin wallets, which is great because not your keys, not your money. So if you have cryptocurrency on your PayPal account, go get yourself a wallet. If you don't, I personally use the Edge wallet.
I use the Edge wallet too.
You can use
Me
whatever
too.
wallet you like, but go find one. And I suggest moving your cryptocurrency off of the PayPal platform because while it's on the PayPal platform, it's not yours.
Right. Also, PayPal's one of the big banks these days. And if the big banks have your crypto, you don't have crypto. I get it. You can benefit from the buying and selling. Benefit now. Get it off. Yeah. You don't have to leave it with them.
We have more cryptocurrency news, but we also have some calls to get to. Let's go to Ann calling from Oregon. Ann, you're on Free Talk Live.
Thank you. I've been listening up to different talk stations about all of this. We need a new gun law. We need this. We need that. Get rid of those guns, and et cetera. No.
Oh, I'm so with you.
We're not handling that correctly. We used to have an outfit that we called for parents, and it was a patient PTA. Well, I don't know where it was in the case of Uvalde or in the other school shootings, but I don't see any connection between the schools and the parents. When a kid starts going off the beam like this one did in Uvalde, back when he was 16, there should have been a conference call between his parents and the school, and that kid should have had some, I want to call it psychiatric help, but anyway, he needed some help from
some professional
somebody
help.
who would try to understand him. And they didn't have any of that on there. And he had problems back, like I say, when he was 16. I looked into the background. His mother took off and left. So he was left with Grandma and Grandpa. Grandpa is in jail at the present time on a felony charge. Now, who's the kid got to talk to? Who's to give him guidance? And he probably wasn't listening to Grandma. He wouldn't have shot her in the face. If he had been listening to her. He didn't like what she said, apparently.
Yeah.
But the kid needed help a long time before. None of this was given. And they're blaming the gun.
Oh, yeah, of course.
It's not the gun's fault.
And something else that'll really, irk you is I brought this in today from the Dallas Morning News. The Uvalde School District, and so the Uvalde School itself, in question here, purchased a social media monitoring service years before this shooting happened. The service says it's to help schools prevent shootings and suicides and things like that. But this particular piece of software called the Social Sentinel has actually...
It is awful.
Has actually done nothing. And so I think to your point, Ann, that the schools are like, oh, we bought a piece of software to help with that. And so they feel like they've outsourced that responsibility to software instead of having what you're describing, a conference or, a human connection between the teachers, the students, and the parents.
This also, I will never miss the opportunity to point out the government went about destroying the nuclear family. It went about, subsidizing single mother households,
right,
and kicking dads out. Now, I'm not saying we're supposed to get rid of people's choice, and I'm not saying you should be in an abusive relationship. I'm not saying anything like that. But let's not forget that the government went and paid people to not have dad around. And if you were to decide that there were two groups of people, those who came from two-parent households and those who came from not two-parent households, you would find that all kinds of socially aberrant behavior occurs in Group B, and Group A is pretty well adjusted and can get through pretty much everything. And this has nothing to do with race or IQ or height or good looks, as I mentioned earlier. It just has to do with some form of dad being about. Right. Now, obviously, when you're cycling dads in and out, you're moving from Group A to Group B, and you're going to have problems again. I tend to like biological at dad, but there's the statistics still they're not quite as firm on that. So, for instance, if there was a dad who comes in at a very young age, continues to act like dad all the way through, that's dad.
I think the biggest thing with the school shooting for me, in my opinion, is it's really just you have no gun zones. It's really just a bunch of sitting ducks, right? If you're a psychopath and you want to go kill people, you know that the teachers at this school are not armed and they cannot defend these children. So that's why they're targeting hospitals, schools, the places where people
gun-free zones.
Yeah. So in New Hampshire, we don't see a lot of stuff like this because everybody's armed.
Yeah, you never see a mass shooting at a gun show.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
There's a reason for that.
Ann?
Yes. I can see only one problem there with her idea, that before these become mass shooters, before they're upset like that, there's been no connection. We as a people, as a human being, are a social being. We need socialization. We've just had 2 years of cutoff from everything with kids only being at home, and then, like you say, sometimes only a one parent in the family.
They were free to go out and burn down department stores.
What?
They were free to go out and burn down department stores.
They were free, you say?
They were free to. My joke has now fallen flat.
and go ahead and finish your
thought. Okay, the big problem is that there's no responsibility here. If they're going to go out and they're going to wreck stores, if they're going to try and shoot a gun or whatever, there's no responsibility being put on the kids as for...
Couldn't agree more, Ann.
No, this is bad.
And thank you for the call tonight, 603-283-6160. Are kids, failing even more because of the lockdowns and everybody staying at home? Give us a call. Let us know. This is Free Talk Live.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it.
Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
Do you feel like your nation, state, or community no longer holds your values? Have you dreamt of a place where people agree that liberty is important and are free to pursue their projects so long as they respect the property of others? There are many people just like you that are discovering freeprivatecities.com. Their social media links are at the upper right of the page at freeprivatecities.com. All skill levels will be needed when the first of the Free Private Cities opens. It's sooner than you think. Stop arguing and build. freeprivatecities.com.
So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com. On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, I mean, that's really the reason why I amp is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
You can help more people hear the message of liberty by joining Free Talk Live's AMPS program on Patreon for as little as $5 a month. And you'll get access to special perks. Visit amps.freetalklive.com, amps.freetalklive.com. There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com. The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount.
Got Telegram? You can follow our channel there and discuss show prep with other listeners at telegram.freetalklive.com.
And we're back.
Yes, we are back. And we're front. And we're side. Or are we? 603-283-6160 is the telephone number. If you're getting a busy signal right now, it's because the phones are packed. So keep trying. We'll get to your calls and thoughts momentarily. Free Talk Live in the studio tonight. It's myself, the captain.
It's Nikki.
And Mark.
Mark the what?
The Intergalactic Space Wizard. You can go to cam.freetalklive.com. I have got my Intergalactic Space Wizard hat on now.
So if you'd like to see that, cam.freetalklive.com, video.freetalklive.com should get you there. Your voice does sound like a little worse than it did a minute ago.
Yeah.
No tea? Okay. Well.
Yeah, I should get some tea.
All right, we'll do that after the show. I need to tell everybody that ForkFest 2022 is right around the corner. You can join liberty-minded voluntarists, anarchists, and libertarians from June 27th through July 3rd for the 6th annual ForkFest at Rogers Campground in the beautiful White Mountains of New Hampshire. I'm stoked. This is the vacation that I need, and
I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm stoked. ForkFest is a fork off of the Porcupine Freedom Festival, which has sold out last year for the first time. It's sold out again, so you can't go to the Porcupine Freedom Festival anymore. You might be able to get a ticket from a private seller, but you certainly can't from the website itself. But ForkFest is the week after that, and it takes place at the same location, Rogers Campground, but it's decentralized. And that means no one is in charge and there's no ticket cost. All you have to do to join the fun is reserve your camping site, your RV site, or your motel room with Rogers Campground June 27th through July 3rd. I can't think of a better place to celebrate something called Independence Day the weekend of than being around other freedom-loving activists in New Hampshire. You can find out more at the unofficial website, forkfest.party, where you can connect with other attendees on the ForkFest Telegram and Matrix chat rooms, as well as the ForkFest Forum. Links to all of those can be found, again, forkfest.party. We hope to see you there, forkfest.party.
It's going to be a forkin' great time.
I sure as fork am looking forward to it. Let's go to your calls and thoughts. Let's go to Bad Slave in New Hampshire. Bad Slave, you're on Free Talk Live.
Well, thank you, guys, and Nikki. I appreciate you taking a call.
What's on your mind?
I want to just kind of bring up, we've got this huge number of American firearms, strewn across the states. And we have also a data point of somewhere in the millions yearly of defensive use. We also have another data point of those hundreds of millions of firearms. Their use is, vastly defensive.
Okay.
That they're better shooters than the cops. There's a whole bunch of positive data that comes out together with this, and so basically, it's true that the vast majority of Americans are, in fact, defenders. And so given that, anything that the gun grabbers do will be, in fact, interfering. Say you're on that 11th round in the 10-round limited magazine.
Yep.
And you're about to take out the bad guy. And, oh, look at that, I ran out. Or, the person that really shouldn't be limited to, non-use of firearms. And, the background check, I can't go. And boy, wouldn't I have been great to take out some bad guy.
There's all kinds of reasons why people should be able to possess guns, but I think that what it's worth saying that there's no, at this point in the United States, where we have a constitution that says shall not be infringed, that somebody who wishes to take guns better have darned good reason to go and co-opt the constitutional rights of every American out there. At the very least, they should be able to follow the laws of their particular state. I think that's getting problematic.
It is an interesting point to me that Bad Slave brings up, to say that the American population owns an incredible number of guns, and it's probably a fair assessment to say that those people who do own guns, pretty much, the ones who own multiple guns, are probably better trained at using them than, say, whatever new crop of policemen comes in every year out of the academy, that kind of a thing.
I think that's absolutely true.
And so I think it's interesting to think that we already have a population of, as he put it, defenders sort of at the disposal. It's just that the government keeps getting in the way by doing things like prohibiting concealed carry or even open carry and that type of a thing.
Top-down homogenous solutions for a very specific problem. The United States doesn't have a gun problem if you remove a certain amount of zip codes. If you just take them out of the scenario, the United States then dips down to pretty middling for a westernized country.
Right, like the Chicago area, for example, is where guns aren't allowed.
Right, the places, by the way, the guns are least allowed. Yeah. If you take out those zip codes, then you'll have an entirely different scenario going. So, the let's get rid of guns solution hasn't worked yet. It hasn't worked in England, where now they're outlawing knives.
Right.
Yeah, it's just people are going to find a way. You can pick up a rock and kill somebody with it.
Yeah. Bad Slave.
But the fact is that even the nature of federal and I'm imagining many state felony laws have nothing to do with dealing with violence. It's all, victimless crimes.
Yeah, it's all ownership, possession of the firearm, what kind of ammunition you can have, how many rounds in your magazine. These are all the laws that they're trying to make. You're absolutely correct, Bad Slave, and thank you for the call tonight.
Well, I think also, I don't know, I assumed the point that he was trying to make was felons can't own guns, and most felonies are victimless crimes, and they're not, or at least non-violent crimes. So it doesn't make sense that if just because somebody has a felony, they shouldn't be able to own a firearm.
Yeah, and honestly, as a felon and being unable to own a gun myself, I gotta say that I think I get why people don't want you handed an AK-47 as you walk out of prison. I understand the practical problem there, but we have to have a solution for felons that go straight, right?
Right.
And want to protect their families. And
to me, if you've done your time, all your rights should be restored.
At the very least,
I agree.
If you haven't committed a crime in the last 5 years, haven't been under supervision in the last 5 years, then by God, you're automatically pardoned.
Free Talk Live, 603-283-6160. More coming up.
Carl Watner, longtime proponent of a voluntary society, died last December. You may have seen his articles published on his website, voluntarist.com, in his newsletter, The Voluntarist, the Mises Institute, or elsewhere over the last 40 years. His newest book, I Must Speak Out, Volume 2, The Best of the Voluntarist, is now available via Liberty Under Attack Publications. This 430-page second volume spans the years of 2000 through 2020 and includes articles by Carl Watner, Hans Hermann Hoppe, Carl Hess, Benjamin Tucker, George H. Smith, Lysander Spooner, Pete Eyre, Joyce Brand, and many others. I Must Speak Out is for the newly initiated, the veteran voluntarist, or anywhere in between. Buy the book now at libertyunderattack.com/voluntarist. For more great content on building a voluntary society and for Carl's extensive archives, check out voluntarist.com.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Nick Harper. A group of 20 US senators have agreed a bipartisan deal to address gun violence following several high-profile mass shootings. President Joe Biden has praised the agreement, even though it doesn't include a ban on assault weapons, something he'd been calling for. The 10 Republicans and 10 Democrats announced the framework deal, which could become the first gun measure fully approved by Congress in years. It includes incentives to encourage more states to implement red flag laws, which stop people deemed a risk to themselves or others from buying firearms. And there's extra funding for mental health and school safety measures. Democratic Senator Chris Coons was involved in the negotiations.
There's still a lot of work to do. There's still a long way to go, but I'm really encouraged by today's announcement. Frankly, it really helped to have Senator John Cornyn, a conservative, aggressive Republican, making it clear what might get more than 10 Republican Senate votes.
A 60-vote threshold is needed for legislation to pass the Senate. President Biden had wanted more, including a ban on assault weapons, but he has praised the agreement in a statement, writing that it would be the most significant gun safety legislation to pass Congress in decades. Russian troops are said to have encircled the Ukrainian city of Severodonetsk. It's fast become the epicenter of the fight for control over Ukraine's eastern region of Donbass. As Sergio Olmas reports from Kiev.
The governor of Luhansk says that there are civilians as well as Ukrainian fighters in an industrial plant in the city of Severodonetsk. Russian armed forces have almost encircled Severodonetsk. They have not cut it off. Ukraine has been able to resupply and reinforce its positions in Severodonetsk. In fact, the president of Ukraine went to the city just across the river in Lysychansk. Artillery rounds do not stop landing in that area. It's incredibly dangerous to just be there. The Russian armed forces have nearly taken control of the city, but Ukraine has been holding out.
Surveillance footage that went viral in China over the weekend of a vicious attack on a group of women has sparked outrage there and ignited debate over predatory sexual behaviour in the country. Reports say police have arrested 9 men and the case has been handed over to another municipality for investigation. Patrick Falk reports from Hong Kong.
Scenes circulating the internet that have shocked the nation. A man walks to a table of women at a restaurant in the northern Chinese city of Tangshan. He unleashes a brutal attack, slapping her in the face and pulling her hair. Others join in and drag her outside, dealing a barrage of blows as she lies on the ground. Related hashtags generated more than 500 million views on Chinese social media. The incident has prompted outrage in the country. Reports suggest the men involved may have been gang members, and the case has been handed over to police in the city of Langfang for further investigation.
From Bureaus Worldwide, this is FSN.
Our Matrix server is about as free as internet chat can be. Join the existing rooms or create your own at chat.freetalklive.com.
We're back.
All right, that's acceptable.
And we're back?
It's acceptable. Yeah, I don't know. It's Richie Rich's thing. Who knows? He hasn't written a manual for when he's away as to like how exactly we're supposed to approach this "and we're back" situation.
We should have been practicing
we
all
probably,
week.
We probably should have.
Would you have read
him,
a manual? It
No.
should be a woe manual.
Exactly.
We should have had him make the procedure document for his absence, and we neglected our corporate duties.
Well, next time.
In documenting the procedure, and so now we're just really flying by the seat of our pants here at Free Talk
You're
Live.
acting like Richie Rich was somehow running the show. You've been behind the board the whole time.
I just know he's going to listen to this broadcast at some point.
Oh, yes, he will.
So, I want to make sure we mention his name a couple, 2-3 times so he feels like, he's a bit valued. 603-283-6160 in the studio tonight. However, it's myself, the captain.
It's Nikki.
And Mark.
And let's just go right back to the phones and the fun. We're going to go to... Hang on. I got to remember who's who. Here we go. It's Jack in Ocean Shores. Jack, you're on Free Talk Live.
Hi. I'm just calling about, gun violence.
Okay, what about it?
I was thinking, if you can suspend your imagination for a moment, imagine the United States or all the governments on Earth took all the money that they put into their military, their weapons, the police, goes on the list, and put that into mental health and gun education for our youth and our schools. Wouldn't that kind of be like the nuclear de-arming of the 80s?
One would hope so.
Let me jump into on that one.
Trillions of dollars.
You would think, with all the money that was spent on public school for the last 100 years, that they would do somehow some better. But the evidence is that, in fact, the illiteracy rate is on the rise in the United States, and that people are being, graduated with reading literacy rates at like the fourth grade level is like the average. That in some districts, illiteracy rates are as high as 40%.
Wow.
For graduates, not for people who went to public school, which I am almost certain is overrepresented in the prison system. So forget the fact that they can't read; they're also violent and stupid. So I would go ahead and say no.
I remember
that the very worst thing you can do for gun violence is put the government in charge of mental health. Because when they're in charge of mental health, everybody's going to be crazy. They're going to be running around killing each other with other things.
I think your point's being made presently in society, so I think you're absolutely 100% correct.
I remember we've cited the statistic about 1 in 4 or 1 in 5 graduates of high school in the United States is functionally illiterate.
Right, 19%. Yeah, 19%. So it's 1 in 5.
But you're saying that there's areas that's as high as 40%.
2 in 5, yeah.
So
now, go ahead.
I was just going to say previously, like a few months ago, I would not have believed you. But I recently met a woman while I was in California that was a school teacher, and she was a high school teacher, and she told me firsthand when she went to a different school in LA County that seriously, over half of the kids could not read. So she's an English teacher, and she's like, how do I even do my job? Like, how do you teach high schoolers how to read? You were supposed to learn how to read like 10, 15 years ago.
I was confronted by this very recently. I was showing somebody my Duolingo app where I'm learning to speak Spanish a little better than I had before. And I was showing them just how great Duolingo is. This is just so awesome. Look at this. And it began to dawn on me as they were looking at the little cartoon characters and listening to the talking that this person couldn't read their native language that was being brought up on Duolingo. And I'm like, well, now what do I do? Right. I look like a complete ass.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to get this person to learn one language. They don't know the first one.
Now, I don't think that Jack was implying that we should take the money that has been spent by
Jack
government.
Was suggesting that I think that it's...
and leave government in control. But like just the money itself, if the
I see what you're saying.
If the money itself could have been applied by a non-government entity to the
morally
United States,
and effectively in the marketplace,
right? To society, that amount of money, I think would have provided such a great education to everybody that it would actually create the obsolescence of the need for the institution known as government, because everybody would be so enlightened.
Let children learn, at 14, I'm living in dream world right now, but, gun safety and, that, all that, and let them carry after maybe 16, 18 years old. And my original call was about getting rid of school shootings.
Yes.
Everyone's educated on guns and everyone's armed. It would diminish. It's just so ironic. But you wouldn't want the government running it either. So I understand what you're saying there.
Agreed. Hey, thanks for the call, Jay.
For me, I find, and I'd agree with, but I don't have a problem with those particular statements. I think the problem is we're taking small group primates and putting them in large groups. And when you take people that want to factionalize, people want to. When you start getting humans in groups larger than 25 or 30, you're going to see bad, aberrant behavior. And this is government schools. The problem with them, I think, isn't the organization necessarily that runs them, but it's the size of them in part. I think you could have a private organization that provided school, and you would still have some of the externalities that we're talking about here if it was 1,500. A graduating class of 1,500.
I think
like that.
John Taylor Gatto would agree with you, I think, on most of those points. I've done a little bit of reading of his stuff, and he's great, R.I.P. But if any of you out there want to learn more about the education system from a man who was nominated repeatedly for Educator of the Year and given some very prestigious awards because he did very well in teaching kids, who came out and wrote books about how the school system is just a big piece of crap. Look up John Taylor Gatto.
The one-size-fits-all model of learning for kids is just, it doesn't work.
No.
And I think that's a huge issue with public schools.
It works.
We wanted a melting pot, and I can understand why they wanted a melting pot, and I can advocate for melting pots. But I just don't think that that's the system.
Well,
the big
system
schools
does work for a very specific application. During wartime, when you have a bunch of factories trying to manufacture armaments to forward the war and win the war, you want to teach a whole bunch of people the same thing. That is, how to work in the factories and press the buttons and make bells and whistles, all that kind of stuff, and make more ammunition. Right? It works great for teaching a large amount of people how to do repetitive things. That's the Prussian school system. That's why it was adopted.
Well, that's what they want. They want people to be robots and to be factory workers and to know how to do repetitive things and not to be free and critical thinkers.
Right. They want obedient workers, not critical thinkers capable of logic and reason, which I contend is more important than anything they're really learning in public schools today.
Absolutely.
Research homeschooling, research unschooling, research Montessori method.
Let's continue on. Let's go to Major Payne in Michigan. Major, you're on Free Talk Live.
Hey, good evening, gents and Miss Nikki. How y'all doing? History seems to repeat itself. I remember after World War I, Britain disarmed all their citizens. And then when the World War II started, they were begging us for anything that would throw a hunk of lead.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
It was 5 years, I think, before we crawled in the ditch with them. But
close to it.
Yeah, 3 to 5, somewhere like that. But anyway, as far as this kid in Texas that went berserk on the school shootings, he's 18 years old. He's never had a good job. He ain't got a pot to piss in or a window to throw it out of. He's living with his second grandpa, who was the grandma. This was the grandma that got shot in the face, not the grandpa that was in jail. There was evidently a good grandpa and grandma and a bad grandpa. But anyway,
Yeah,
I think he was backed by the feds. There was video of him on Facebook torturing critters and whatnot.
I've heard that.
And I think
They could have been backed by the FBI.
Yeah. Hey, thanks for the call tonight, Major. We appreciate you. Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me at all either, because they've been behind so many of these already. 603-283-6160. More Free Talk Live is on the way.
The Free State Project has reached its goal of 20,000 liberty lovers who've pledged to move to New Hampshire and get active to achieve liberty in our lifetime. Perhaps you're trying to figure out what part of New Hampshire should be your destination. If so, consider Keene. You'll find more than 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com. Keene is famous for its historic, publicity-generating activism, as well as being the liberty media capital of the world. It's home to freekeene.com, New Hampshire's destination for liberty activism, news, and opinion. For years, we've been compiling over 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com, where you'll learn about some of what's happening here and what makes Keene a great place to live. If you love liberty, you'll probably enjoy anywhere you end up in the Shire. But do your due diligence first. Please visit move.freekeene.com for the full list of over 150 reasons to move to Keene. That's move.freekeene.com.
My name is Jacob Hornberger. I'm president of the Future of Freedom Foundation, which Congressman Ron Paul awarded for having an outstanding freedom website. Write us at fff@fff.org, and we'll send you a free 3-month subscription to our monthly journal of libertarian essays and our booklet, Economic Liberty in the Constitution, which George Mason University economics professor Walter Williams praised in a recent column. That's fff@fff.org.
What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
This is Michael Dean from the Freedom Fiends. I've run websites since 1996 and have used over a dozen web hosts in that time. AgristHosting.com is the only one that hasn't broken my heart. Agrist Hosting's uptime and service is stellar, and their DDoS mitigation is the best I've seen. That's important because if you tell the truth in this world, you'll ruffle feathers. And some people will try dirty tricks to silence your voice. No matter what the haters hit us with, Agrist Hosting keeps our websites online. If you have a mission-critical commercial presence or a world-changing activism site, you cannot tolerate any skullduggery. So go with agristhosting.com. Have a WordPress or blog site, but you're not satisfied with performance or uptime? Or just want raw hosting? Want to pay with Bitcoin? Agrist Hosting specializes in high-performance hosting with personalized service. Go to agristhosting.com and click on the button that says Get Hosted. That's agristhosting.com.
Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. Chat.lrn.fm.
I'm crazy about My Magic Mud. This is the most important oral care product created this millennium, and I'm not kidding. We all have different opinions on politics and issues, but we all have mouths. And I want yours to be as clean as possible, with teeth as bright as they were meant to be. I will never be without My Magic Mud. It's a little surprising, but man, does it work. If you only listen to one thing I say ever, go to mymagicmud.com and get 20% off with code FTL. mymagicmud.com, code FTL.
You can stick it to the man and big tech. Join our FTL social mastodon at social.freetalklive.com.
think we pretty much nailed that one.
Yeah, we
did. That was a good one.
Took us all show, but we sure as hell got it.
We practiced the whole break.
We really did not.
I was showing memes about free cats.
Free dead cats. 603-283-6160. One of my first radio DJ personalities I ever paid attention to was Dr. Demento. And
I've been told I sound like him.
You do a bit. Okay. He's got a bit different personality than you.
Indeed.
But the voices are similar-ish as far as radio broadcasters.
If you could take Ian and I and combine us, maybe you'd have it closer to a Dr. Demento too.
Maybe. But he famously played the song "Dead Puppies Are Not Much Fun." I would posit that dead kittens also not much fun.
It's interesting though. I mean, it's the same parts, just slightly different in the free cats. I mean, you know.
In the studio, it is myself, the captain.
It's Nikki.
And Mark. Life has no weight.
Like W-A-I-T or W-E-I-G-H-T? Life has no weight?
Yeah. Consciousness. These things don't weigh any different. There's no spirit. Well, at least it doesn't weigh anything. I'm not claiming there's not a spirit. I don't know.
Before we get back to your calls and thoughts, I have to say thank you to Dan. Is it Harjes? H-A-R-J-E-S? Dan is a silver level amplifier.
Thank you, Dan.
And Dan gives, what is that, $10 a month, silver level?
I think silver is $5.
Silver is $5.
At one
yeah,
point.
You're right. Sorry. Silver is $5 a month. He gives $5 a month to help us get this radio program on more radio stations. We're currently on somewhere near 200, like 190, I think was the last number that I'm aware of. We could be on 250. We could be on 300.
With the new old website, we took away the counter because we couldn't do that on, Drupal was enabled us to do it, whereas WordPress didn't. So I don't have a counter.
It's fine. But we could be on a whole bunch more radio stations. If you enjoy this program, you enjoy the hosts, the co-hosts, the content, the fact that we are just about the only thing on radio that comes at it from a perspective of freedom, peace, and prosperity, consider helping us spread the message over at amps.freetalklive.com. You do get some perks for becoming an amplifier. There's some little benefits that you get. But that's not the real reason you should become an amplifier. If you enjoy this
because
program...
when we hit 500 amplifiers, Captain will start an OnlyFans.
I could be down with that. If it's the OnlyFans that we discussed earlier.
I think people would be pleasantly surprised.
Anyway, please find out more over at amps.freetalklive.com. Thank you again, Dan Harjes, for your contribution. We appreciate you. Let's go back to the phones, and let's go to Olivia in Arizona. Olivia, you're on Free Talk Live.
Hey, I called about birth control and recycling, but you mentioned...
Wait, you can recycle your birth control?
Oh, no, two different things.
Somebody needs that.
All right, I'm sorry. I was making a joke and confused. Go ahead, Olivia.
Would it be okay if I told a quick story about a dead cat, though, since you brought it up?
Well, now I got to know.
I mean, yeah, now that you mention it, sure, go ahead.
Okay. One time I had this dream that I was outside of an animal shelter, and there was this little black kitten. So I picked him up, and I took him into the shelter, and I said, hey, you guys, I just found this outside. I guess one of yours escaped. And the lady behind the desk said, oh, no, that's not ours. We put it to sleep already. And I said, well, obviously not, because he's alive. And she looked at me like I was stupid, and she said, well, it is and it isn't. It's a Schrodinger cat, duh. And I was just like, oh, I thought those were just theoretical.
Schrodinger's cat.
Oh, I got it. It's a dream, so anything can happen.
I had. Yeah, it was weird. But
what were you calling about, Olivia?
Recycling and birth control. So with recycling, y'all didn't mention one free market recycling that I really appreciate, and that is the collection bins at the front of Walmart that collect the plastic bags, like empty dry bags. And I just wanted to tell everybody out there, if it has to be number 2 or number 4 plastic. So when you rip the plastic bag, if it rips in waves like ripples, then that can go in that recycling bin. If it tears in a straight line like that kind of rigid plastic that tears in a straight line, that's not the same thing. You can't recycle that there. But I just wanted to throw that out there because there is a market for that.
Indeed.
Most of those grocery bags I ended up using for dog waste. Now you got to check them. Yeah, in our household
no holes.
You get pretty good with the double wrist flip, and so you can take a look inside and throw it up against the light, make sure there's no holes because you don't want any holes. This is really important. The ones with holes are the ones that go in the recycling into Walmart. The ones without, that's the ones you keep.
What were your thoughts on birth control, Olivia?
Oh, one other quick thing about recycling. If people would recycle correctly, a lot less would go into the landfill. One thing I know is that you're not supposed to put your recyclables in bags because they don't have time to rip open those bags and empty them out. So those go straight into the landfill. That's bins where people put in things that aren't supposed to be recycled, so they have to throw it all away. Okay. And those bags will clog up the rollers. You can't put those soft plastic bags in with your recycling because they'll clog up the rollers and it'll jam the whole process. So
some places do all recycling put together, though. So like you'll have paper and plastic and metal and everything all in one location. What are they doing? That aren't they picking that stuff out?
Like I said, when it first gets in, I actually posted a video on social.freetalklive.com. That shows the process, but it all comes in on these rollers. And if you stick those soft plastic bags in there, it'll jam the rollers, and the rest of the stuff can't travel along the path. But yeah, they do one stream recycling is what that's called.
Okay.
And they have processes to separate everything. It's really amazing. It's a really neat how they engineered the whole thing.
How do you segue that into birth control?
Oh well, just transfer. Well, now I'm going to talk about birth control.
Okay. Hey, great segue.
Nikki had mentioned the tracking your cycle, and that really concerns me because I've heard of lots of people who didn't want to get pregnant, and they did because you can get pregnant on your period.
Yes, that's true.
Yes. I mean, it's not. I would definitely use backup forms for sure of birth control. I've heard of. Oh, go ahead.
You can still use the rhythm method or FAM while you're menstruating. You can still tell some of the signs, but
there's always the withdrawal method, which is, I mean, it has its downsides, but it has its upsides too. Don't park it in the garage, park it in the yard.
Right. I'm just saying the pill changed my life for so much the better. Also, getting off sugar and dairy helped a lot too, but the pill was great for me personally. But I've heard so many horror stories of people who tried to do the rhythm thing and they ended up,
I've heard a lot of horror stories of people on the birth control pill that got really sick. So that's why I advocate against it.
I understand that too. But people definitely need to do the research. I think it might be a little unrealistic to expect teenagers especially to be able to do that, or, they have enough of a hard time keeping track of like homework or just driving properly, or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well,
I think this is the conversation that the cereal manufacturer wanted us to have.
Indeed. Hey, Olivia, thank you for the call. We appreciate you. The cereal manufacturer, notwithstanding, important topic for certain. Let's David in New Mexico, take us out, man.
Yeah, after 44 minutes and 8 seconds on hold for 1 minute. Thank you very much for leaving me all that time. And I wanted to address Olivia's point from yesterday, but that'll have to wait because I've got so much time. So recycling birth control, is that like washing out your condoms? Is that what that is?
I believe
you could do that.
Yes, you could. Only with the old style condoms where they were made out of sheepskin.
Sheepskin.
Yeah, single stream recycling, that's when you recycle your urine to water the garden. So you go out there and you provide
get rid of deer. If you're a meat eater, and you should be, saving that stuff and putting it out in the yard.
Yeah, so serious. How many seconds do I have left, Captain, for serious stuff?
You're the clock watcher, so
about a minute.
I would think you would know before I would.
So to address one of Mark's points, Mark made a point about biological fathers raising their children as opposed to otherwise. Let me provide you this fact. The non-biological father that replaced me after a number of years living in the family beat up my son after he got caught trying to rape and beat up my son's mother. And so that guy is gone out of my biological children's lives. So as for continuity of any male presence, the one that beat him up is now gone, and the biological father's bonded relationship was destroyed. Oh, and who did this? State of New Mexico, Judge Angela Jewell, Judge M. Monica Zamora, Judge John J. Romero Jr. Hey,
thanks for the call, David. We appreciate you. If you missed any part of tonight's show, you can find the replay over at freetalklive.com here in about an hour or so.
Yeah, archives.freetalklive.com. We've got all the episodes going back for a very, very long time, couple of decades for free.
Thanks and peace.
After a devastating war, the alien visitors were driven back, and their willing human collaborators were left behind to face the music. When Emma Jean Anderson's ex-lover springs her from prison, Nathan Foster and his 14-year-old nephew Ben are tasked with bringing the pair to justice. An easy enough job until they discover something is inside Emma Jean, and the fate of the planet hangs in the balance. The Family Business by Mike Coopery from BaneBooks.com.
There are basically two types of advertising, direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer-term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first call should be to Mark Worden from Porcupine Real Estate. He's more than just a real estate agent. He's your New Hampshire concierge. Where are the best places to live? Do you want farm, city, the burbs, or forest? Do you want a duplex or multifamily building so that renters pay your mortgage? There are homes in all price ranges in New Hampshire, and Mark can help with financing too. Invest in Liberty and property. Mark Worden can help.
PorcupineRealEstate.com. If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com and